I'm Chris Lanou, and I never listen to None Taken.
And I'm Steve Lanou, and I've never listened to None Taken either.
I know it's killing you. Go ahead and say it.
And we're live.
Yes, we are live, Alan. The button sound starts before we do. We're doing things a little different with our recording processes, guys. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome.
I have something over the weekend. My mom wants, so we're having a wedding party at my mom's house in a couple of weeks.
Cool.
Like a month and a half. And she's like treating it like it's a fucking wedding. She's like, can I talk to you guys over the weekend so we can plan? We're like, plan what? Like, we're catering from a local Mexican food place. Like, we'll get some tables and chairs, like go to Costco, grab some beers. Like,
right.
What do you like? I don't know. Put some balloons out, I guess, so people know like it's a birthday. You know, put a balloon on a mailbox. Like,
she wants to color coordinate the flowers with the dresses.
What you want from us? Like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna wear our wedding clothes. What do you call that? Wedding? We're gonna wear everything we got married in when we go to San Diego. Wedding costumes. Yeah, we're gonna go to the bars the night before and tell everybody we just got married because it is true. And
you're not lying. It's true.
That special treatment again. That was fun. That was fun.
Nice.
Anyway, so I was talking to my mom. It was just, oh my God. It was, and it's just like a fucking mind melter. Like, I ended up taking a nap in the middle of it because Natasha was talking to her.
Oh, wow.
She told us something. I can't remember. I kind of went, Tosh!
You were so exhausted by the conversation, you required some
rest. She started saying something. She told it, Tosh! What did my mom say? I don't know. There was something that was funny. Huh? Oh, we were talking about hanging out with Smurdell and how he was trying to kill our liver. And she's like, well, last time I saw Smurdell, he got blackout drunk and I had to drive everybody home. I'm like, oh, I forgot all about that. All right. That was very niche. I didn't have to interrupt the fucking show for that. All right. Anyway, so she was talking, part of her rambling. I love her, but Jesus. She was talking about how she just finished vacation. She called us about the wedding and she's like, so we just finished vacation Bible school and I'm so happy to be back involved with the church. And I was like, okay, Mom. All right.
Isn't that the podcast you listen to?
No, my mom was doing she works at the youth ministries at her Presbyterian church.
Nice.
And
Nice.
So speaking of which, I have my own spicy take that I'd like to share on the show. And it's kind of come up lately in a couple of different conversations. So I was like, let's just try it on the show. See if I can get all my facts out in here. Did you know that Israel was a proxy state for Egypt and King Solomon was a plant?
I was not aware of this. No.
This is a spicy opinion, but I think it checks out. So a couple examples of why, like in the books, like before Samuel and before 1st and 2nd Samuel, before Kings, like all of Egypt's greatest enemies had chariots. And that was like it was almost like they had nuclear bombs, right? Like,
right.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden under Solomon, it's like, and we have so many chariots. It's like, what the fuck? And like the way they describe the inside of the temple, it sounds like very Egyptian and but
yeah, kind of. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I have more about Solomon. And this is the part that I've really been looking forward to.
Okay.
Solomon was a plant. Who wrote, do you remember who wrote? Well, I bet you'll guess who wrote Samuel.
Samuel.
Yes, Samuel. Samuel wrote Samuel.
Yes.
So one of my favorite parts of Samuel is that when he talks about Saul, you can tell that he thinks Saul is a moron. Not Solomon, Saul. So he thinks like you can tell Samuel just thinks Saul is the biggest idiot. Like if you read it with that in mind, and if you like read Samuel again, you'll be like, oh my God, like this guy hates this guy.
Just a big bumbling.
Yes.
Idiot.
Well, because remember, Saul was supposed to like destroy all the livestock and kill the Amalekite king, and he didn't. And then he built a monument for himself, and then Samuel never talked to him again.
Yes, sounds right.
And he said he was like, not favored by the Lord or something like that. In that same way, you can sort of read between the lines and see that he thinks Solomon was an idiot too. Here's my point. When you think of Solomon, you've got listeners, if you know shit about the Bible, if you know anything about Solomon, you know one phrase. What's the phrase?
Well, split the baby.
Well, but wise king, right?
Wise king
Solomon.
Yes,
it's funny you said the one thing about Solomon is to split the baby. That's about to come up in a second. But yes, if there's one fact everyone knows about Solomon, I'm doing Trump hands. If you know one fact everybody knows about Solomon, it's that he's wise King Solomon. He's supposed to be the wisest king of the Bible, right?
That's why the Queen of Sheba came to visit him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good. Yes. I trust you on that one. That's not in my fact set that I carry with you here. So wise king. Well, the wisest king of Israel, his only speaking part in the entire Bible is the whole splitting the baby story. That's the only time he fucking talks.
Yeah. Okay. That checks out.
And so here's where it gets even funnier. That was a Greek story, and like it comes up in other texts through like that, the histories of that time period. So it was a parable that was ported in from other stories, and they used it for the only dialogue for Solomon, the wise king. And this was like right after he was like inaugurated or whatever, right? So it's like this guy just gets inaugurated, and then he's the king of everything, right? Like he's you know. The one purpose they have a king for is to negotiate a maternity suit between two street prostitutes. Like seriously, he's the Maury Povich of the Bible, and that's the only thing they wrote down. Like,
yeah, that's.
Can I get a little bit? So the guy that's got this theory, he says that it's a parable about Israel and Judah. The sons are the monarchy. The dead son is the monarchy of Saul and Israel, and the live son is the monarchy of Judah. And the message is that Solomon is able to keep them together rather than splitting the baby apart.
Okay.
Through his wisdom. But then it's the only thing he ever says. Yeah. I think that's it. That's it. Yeah.
There are there's actually a lot of the stories in that early part of the Bible are imported from other Greek myths and mythologies. And Queen of Sheba actually is a character that you find over the span of, I think, 1,000 or 1,500 years in different religious texts, including, I think,
I only know that as a generic name, actually. Yeah. When you said it, I don't know what the story.
They're not even entirely sure where Sheba is, and then what her real name is, because Sheba is the place that she's the queen of. That's not her name.
No name.
Yeah,
was she Bathsheba?
No, there are a couple of places where in other texts where she does have a name, but they vary. But the story is always the same, kind of, even though it's
interesting. Well, now I'm curious about that.
I'll find a podcast to send it to you.
Please do. Please do. All that stuff's really fascinating to me. Okay. Well, yeah, Solomon's a moron, and Samuel knew it, and he hated Saul also. Reread Samuel. It's actually very entertaining when you think about how much he hated the people.
I'm trying to remember some of it.
Oh my God. It's full of things like he's right. Samuel's writing things about David. He keeps giving these parables to David. You know, there's one that's like a traveler, a merchant, a woman, and a lamb. And like halfway through, David's like, "You're not talking about like this or that." He's like, no. And then at the end, he's like, "It is about how I killed Bathsheba's husband." It's how you got me, you fucking moron.
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, this is way too much Bible talk.
It is way too much. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, it's Samuel hated. It is. It's like how Shakespeare was like writing about the king, but he had to wrap it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's almost like it's not a history book.
Oh, it's almost like that.
Like more on that in the Culture War segment. Let me get you an opening track here. I've got I'll save these other two. This is, Kanye West can gets a bad rap for kind of like thinking off the top without really thinking things
for his love of Hitler, all that.
Yes. Being a little spontaneous maybe and not really thinking it through though, right? Guy can be a little impulsive, right?
I would say highly impulsive, yes.
Well, you know what? Here's an interview with TMZ, and it's him being very thoughtful, very, very thoughtful. So he was asked a question. He was like, "Don't rush me on this. Hold on."
You want me to repeat?
No.
Why don't we do this? Let's take a quick break.
No, we're not going to Jimmy Kimmel the situation.
No, we're going to come right back.
No, we're not going to come right back.
Okay.
We're not going to Jimmy Kimmel the situation.
Fair enough.
We're going to give me time to think.
Okay. Fair enough.
You asked me a serious question, and I'm going to take some time to think about my answer. I'm going to use time to my advantage in this situation. Now repeat the question.
Okay. Do you consider a hot dog a sandwich?
Y'all let me in this damn house.
Should we hit record?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. All right, you ready?
I am ready. Are you recording?
Yes. All right. Well, you want to start a show?
Let's start a show.
That podcast is filling your head with garbage.
No offense taken there.
Well, it sounds like none taken. Boom. to episode number 379 of Taken, the internet's only debate and current events show with your hosts Dustin and Alan, two political nomads from two different worlds. Shout out to Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band for the use of their song Ways and Means for intro music. Thank you for joining us. The time of this recording, it is Tuesday, July 2nd, 2022. It's a great day for America. We are two coastal elites coming to you from the shores of the mighty Cumberland in Madison, Tennessee, all the way to the Pacific waters of El Cerrito, California. Here to recap another week of current events, sharing way too much of our tragic personal lives. And we're taking a sledgehammer to the culture war echo chambers. You can subscribe to None Taken on all your podcast apps. If you want to be a mensch, head on over to nonetakenpod.com and you can subscribe to the special place. We have a name for it.
Patreon.
Patreon, that's what it's called. Subscribe to the show, Patreon, $3 a month, $9 a month, $18 a month, whichever one you're good with. You get full access to all the videos, all the interviews that we do. Everything we do on there either is Patreon exclusive or it will air there for a while before we release it to the general public. And
It's also unedited.
And unedited, yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, let it all hang out over there.
And if you join at the $18 a month level, the Culture Warrior level, you get a Culture Warrior t-shirt. But you have to DM me. That's it. What else you got, Alan?
We got a merch store over there too. So you can buy some cool hoodies, some coffee mugs, some t-shirts, etc.
What do those mugs say?
We say cunt in this house.
I was thinking about putting a shirt up there that says everybody's a libertarian until they get electrocuted in a cooler. But Bob said change it to you get electrocuted by a Cleveland steamer. Because that's what did it. It was a Cleveland steamer.
It was a Okay.
Yeah.
That's a
not the sex act, Alan.
A wrinkle to that story I wasn't aware of.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you could do
Steamer
that.
will get that wrinkle right out, Alan.
Really, all the stuff you need about None Taken is at nonetakenpod.com. All our socials are over there. The merch store, the Patreon, all the links to various RSS feeds for the show. It's all there. All there.
And if you want to help out the people that help us,
yes,
head on over to slicketsdigital.com, slicketsdigital.com for all your SEO and marketing needs. Slicketsdigital.com. Alan,
hell yeah.
What is up?
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Hope you're all having a great week. We're only a couple of days away from 4th of July.
So something just occurred to me. That's Thursday.
Yes, it is.
We do a show on Thursday, but I'm going to be drunk on a river.
Oh. Well, we could put up the Sino Talk.
Sino Talk episode coming out on Thursday.
Hey, there we go. We just fixed it. We figured it out.
There you go.
Live on the show.
Yep.
Let's see. What did I get?
You know what's funny is we talked about flooding in China, and guess what? They're flooding again. I just watched the newest China Uncensored episode, and he did a whole joke. He's like, didn't we just have this news? So perfect timing.
You actually did a pretty good impression of him. I don't know if you intended to do that, but he kind of sounded like him a little bit there.
I don't like his tone. I don't want to sound like
he's a little smarmy.
I don't care for him, honestly.
Yeah. Let's see. I had a good weekend, you guys. I on Saturday it was soccer.
I want to hear about your great weekend. Just for the record, I was saying I don't care for the host of China Uncensored, not Sino Talk.
Yes.
Although that motherfucker had way too many pauses in his speak pattern.
Good clarification. I had soccer Saturday. There was some I don't know which cup it is, Euro Cup or something.
Well, there's the Euro Cup and the Copa America. So
I think it was Euro. It was Italy, Switzerland, and Germany.
That's
Denmark.
definitely not the America. Yeah.
Germany
plays Friday.
Yeah, they were pretty good. So Tim was like, "Hey, soccer Saturday. Boys come over and we'll have breakfast burritos. We'll watch soccer. We'll play FIFA." So we did that. It was a blast. Good time always. Oh, yeah. Lots of fun. I'm getting a little better at FIFA, although I think it might be like I'm only better if I'm with somebody who's better.
Oh, you play like 4 people teams?
Yeah, we 2-on-2.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Remember, I just makes me think of Drab T-shirt playing FIFA all the time.
Yeah, he. You know what? It's a fun game, especially if you got a group of four people.
Yeah,
with you,
yeah.
It's a lot of
fun.
fun.
It's a social game.
Yeah, definitely. Good times. And then my old roommate got a new place in Martinez, so he invited me to his housewarming on Sunday. So I went over there Sunday afternoon. Beautiful, gorgeous place he's got over there.
Nice.
And
renting, buying? He bought a place, renting?
Bought a new
place.
He's
made of money. Wow. Whoa.
Really, really nice place. And he's done a lot of renovations to it already. I think they've been there for a couple of months already. But anyways, met some really cool people. I mean, there was probably like 40 or 50 people there. There was a lot of people.
That's a shitload, dude.
Yeah. All the kids were in the pool hanging out, and we were just I found a group of guys that, kind of my speed, and we just kind of hung out by the bar and chatted.
Nice.
There was a dude that turns out he works in video game motion capture.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I was like, oh, tell me about that. So he starts telling me about what he does. And he's like, hey,
you gonna be out of work now that AI can do it?
I asked him that, and he's like, no, I'm not worried about that. He's like, what I can do, you can't really do with AI. I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, my new game just came out, relatively recently. Do you want a copy? And I was like, sure. So he lives right across the street. So we walked over there, and he had a stack of them. He's like, here you go.
Dude, that's sick.
Cool. Met a really cool dude from the Dominican Republic. Dude, he has family in a home over there as well. And he had some amazing pictures. I'm like, dude, I got to go to the Dominican Republic.
DR is beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, I've always thought
too close to Haiti, Alan.
I asked him about that, and he's like, dude, I grew up there my entire life. I never stepped foot in Haiti. I don't even know. It doesn't impact me at all.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so wild.
Sounds like most stories I've heard of that. Yeah,
it's so wild. They're right in the same island, like right next to each other.
Anyways,
yeah, it was all in all a good time, man. It was a nice weekend. Nice weekend.
Nice.
How about you?
We floated the Piney River. It's a river I haven't been down before, so we all met up on Sunday to do that. And somebody gave me a piece of chocolate that made me feel funny, and I didn't expect that. So it was quite the experience. I really enjoyed it.
Like homemade, or was it?
It said made with love in Oakland.
Oh,
the packaging, yeah.
Nice,
but I didn't know that.
Sure.
Yeah. Hi, Mike.
I just thought it was Hershey's.
Yeah. It's got a weird aftertaste, kind of earthy, earthy,
grassy.
No, nope, wrong direction.
Oh,
Earthy.
okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was nice.
Okay,
they have these rocks when you get towards the end of it that look like Apatosaurus coming out from the wall. Like they call them the Land Before Time rocks. It just looks like the neck and the head coming out of it. Fucking dope.
Was that an experience?
Oh, it was great, man. I was jumping off rocks, like jumping into the river. And then I touched something. I was like, well, maybe I won't keep jumping there anymore. I thought that was a lot deeper than it was. So I'm good so far.
Yeah, you got to be careful jumping. Rivers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Somebody else hit their leg. They're like, it's okay. I'm just going to bruise. I'm like, don't keep jumping there. You have to jump out. Like, you can't just and you don't pencil. You got to do the chair,
Sure.
Anyway, we're like, I was sitting there. We kept stopping because there's like a group of 30 of us. So because of that, there's people stopping all the time. You kind of get separated. You wait for other people. One of our stops, I was just sitting there just being like, God, this is a perfect day. It is just so nice out. The words left my mouth, and then somebody's inflatable paddleboard blew up. Like it sounded like a gun went off. And I was just like, what the fuck? And then I just watched it slowly go flat.
That sucks.
Dude.
Do you think you just hit a rock and it cut it? Or
I think it was sitting in the sun too long.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but I mean, obviously, it had a weak point in the seam somewhere, and that burst combined with if you inflate it, well, that's the thing is, if you inflate it when it's cold and then it gets hot, you're fine. But if you inflate it while it's hot and then if you inflate it while it's hot, it's not going to get much hotter. Yeah, if you inflate it while it's cold, that would be bad because you're going to put too much air in there for when it expands, when it heats up. And it wasn't cold; it was like 90 degrees. So yeah.
Well, if it's seen a few seasons,
it has, but it's also not supposed to happen. Like when you spend that much on one of those boards.
Is yours inflatable or is yours hard?
Mine's inflatable too, and it's the same brand. So I know how much they spent on that. I was like, well, that better not fucking ever happen to me.
Damn.
But it was fine. There's a bunch of people, so someone doubled up and they were fine. The guy whose board it was so fucking chill about it. He's like, okay, well, that happened. We'll deal with this. I would have been bummed. It was fucking mood changer for a moment.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
Jumping off rocks was a good time. And you got to drop one car off where the river ends and then go back to we forgot that the truck that we had down there only had three seats, and I was the fourth person. I was like, oh, I called the truck bed. So I got to ride in the back of the truck the rest of the way, just looking at the clouds. It was fucking awesome. It was a great.
Nice.
Fucking great day. Yeah.
Good times.
Excellent weekend. Well, what do you say we get into some of our comedy clips?
Actually, just real quick before we move on, I forgot to mention I met a dude from Hawaii that was super cool also at that party, and he's probably listening to this show right now.
Oh, hell yeah.
So what's up, dude?
What's up?
Do you want to leave him out?
Wait, Alan. Aloha.
Aloha.
Yeah. See, multilingual podcast, very inclusive. I don't remember anything about this clip. This is Brent Aiton. I know it says "Free Baby," so that's the name of the clip. Is "Free Baby."
I had an opportunity to have a baby once, and I feel like I blew it. What happened was I got in line at Starbucks. There was a woman in front of me in line with like a kid in a car seat in one of her hands, and she had a
This is a great bit.
coffee cup in her other hand. And in my head, lining up behind her, I was like, wow, it's 8 o'clock in the morning and she's already going for a refill. But then she gets a phone call. So she puts her kid in the car seat down, pulls her phone out and just walks away from the line, just leaves her baby to hold her spot in line, which means now I'm stuck with this baby between me and the rest of the line. So as the line moves forward, now I have to decide, do I want to cut in front of this baby or just like move him forward with me? Which is what I did, because technically that's still a person in line, right? But now I'm just like staring at my phone, kicking this baby forward, just like a shitty dad, waiting for the mom to come back. And I got to the till for the mom came back. The girl at the till was like, "Are you kicking your baby?" I was like, "It's not my baby." As if that made it okay. I'm like, you can actually kick babies that don't belong to you. A lot of people don't know that. So then I get my coffee, but now I feel like I'm kind of responsible for this kid, right? Because I've moved him so far. So I just get my coffee and I picked up the kid and I went and stood back in line waiting for that mom to come back. Then I'm just standing back in line, kid in a car seat in one hand, coffee cup in the other. People are starting to line up behind me and I realized maybe that wasn't this kid's mom. Like maybe this kid's just been doing laps through this line. So I just put the kid in the car seat down, pulled my phone out, just walked away from the line. I had an opportunity to have a baby once, and
that is a great bit.
It's a great bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and he tells it so well. That was so well done. Like just
very
like
well done.
Just awesome bit.
Well
Timmy,
a little bit of a Daniel Tosh vibe.
Listener, what?
A little bit of a Daniel Tosh vibe. A little bit.
Yeah, or that guy that's always interviewing porn stars and stuff. I don't find him that.
Oh,
I don't know his name though. This Stiff
Plenty
Sauce
balls.
podcast guy. He's whatever. Very popular. What is it? Oh, Timmy sent this one in. I think Tim likes it when we call him Timmy because we're friendly. So since we're familiar, we can call him Timmy. Yeah. It's like the Ustedis. Two versus Usted, I think. You know, it's the Timmy version because we're friends.
Sure.
Okay. Anybody else, you have to call him Tim. Timmy sent this one in. This is about living in a trailer.
The thing is, I moved from a house to a trailer. Two very different worlds. You learn a lot when you live in both of those worlds. Like I learned, did you know they call it a trailer because it's a preview of what a real home looks like?
That's the whole bit. It goes on longer, but that's it.
It's a good bit.
It's a good bit. I keep growing, but kind of an abbreviated comedy segment, only because I don't know how long the show is going to be. Alan sent this one in. This is about Trump's vice presidential picks. Do you remember sending me this, Alan?
Vaguely.
Tyler Fisher sent this in.
Who do you think Trump's VP is going to be? Tucker Carlson?
Oh.
That'd be fucking hilarious. That would be so. Ooh, we're at war with Ukraine. Ooh, ooh, I'm so scared. Ooh. Ben Shapiro as vice president, dude, he'd be doing ad reads while addressing the nation. Like, okay, everybody, we're in a full-blown war with North Korea right now. Bombs are dropping every day. Apparently, they got a hold of our nuclear codes because we're terrible at protecting our online data. That's why I use ExpressVP. Go to expressvp.com. Use code World War III for 10% off. Some say Jordan Peterson. I don't know. A little too intellectual, Jordan Peterson. Well, it's like, I was elected, but it's like, what do you mean by elected? You know, it's like, what do you mean by mean? It's like, yeah, Carl Jung warned about it. You know, it's like, well, here we are in war with China. It's like, maybe if you cleaned your damn room, pet a damn cat, we wouldn't have nuclear war. It's like, yeah, well, if you want to look smart, just look like you're getting gum off your fingers. You know, it's like...
Tyler Fisher, ladies and gentlemen.
That's very good.
That is it for our comedy segment. Let's move on into.
How about that?
Easing into that, we'll have comedian and stand-up host, late night show host Craig Ferguson on a podcast. That's his podcast, Joy, a podcast hosted by Craig Ferguson. He had Steve Guttenberg on. Now, I think me and Alan would go, "Oh yeah, I remember Steve Guttenberg." Some of you might say, "Who's Steve Guttenberg?" Right?
Who's Steve Guttenberg?
Wait, are you serious?
the name.
That's fantastic.
Okay.
All right. That's
Okay.
the entire reason I'm playing this clip, actually.
Okay.
So Steve Gutenberg was the biggest name in the late 80s in movies. 3 Men and a Baby, Cocoon, lots of movies. Steve Gutenberg, right?
Okay. Okay. Yes.
So this is a clip about fame and like the arc of fame. And Steve Gutenberg has a 5-stage process of the arc of fame.
Yes.
I'll stop yammering and just let the professionals.
Is it playing? I can't hear anything.
Sorry. I don't know why you wait so long to tell me. It's
I
definitely.
said, is it playing?
Well, say it louder.
Okay.
I can't hear you. I can hear it.
You said one of the things I teach my own kids this to anyone who wants to know anything about show business, and I quote you and I name you, and that this is the greatest lesson for anyone in show business. And you told it to me.
Oh, Police Academy.
Ah, yes.
It's the who's Steve Gutenberg again?
5 stages.
So it's the 5 stages are.
Who is Steve Gutenberg? Get me Steve Gutenberg. I want a Steve Gutenberg type. I want a young Steve Gutenberg. And who is Steve Gutenberg?
I think that is such a chilling, accurate portrayal of this business.
Paul Newman told me that one.
Really? Was he in show business?
No. He was he sold salad dressing.
Race car driver, Alan. Race car driver.
That's great. I miss Craig Ferguson, man. Late show.
I know. I loved his weird, like, is esoteric the right word? Like,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He would do this whole thing where is the whole reason we used to have a sound that was There's No Time for Sharks. It was like 30 seconds long, and it was based off of like the comedy of Craig Ferguson.
Yes,
because he would do this bit where he was like, "Ooh, the show's running long. Do we have time for emails?" And then they'd cut away to a song that was like, There's no time for emails. There's no time for emails. There's no time for that. No. It was like 45 seconds. Like, and it would get more and more elaborate the more they do it. Like,
it was great.
I loved Craig Ferguson.
Did you like an awkward pause or a mouth organ?
It was he was like Letterman, but it was like Letterman because he was on versus Conan, right? He was like Letterman Conan.
But quirkier, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not fair because all those guys love Letterman.
True.
But like it was Worldwide Pants production, so it was a Letterman.
Yeah. He was special though. I think he definitely stood out as different.
He did. And it's not fair that he's compared in his time slot to Conan, which is right. I mean, if we're being real, Conan was a superior show, but Craig was a standout and it shouldn't have had to be one or the other.
Yes, I agree.
It's not like Letterman and Leno, or if you like Leno, you can go fuck yourself. You don't listen to None Taken if you like Leno. All right. What's this note say? Oh, Tinky Winky. Tinky Winky? Is that what it says?
That's what it says.
Yeah, Tinky Winky. Do you remember the Teletubbies, Alan?
Yes.
Aiden sent this in.
Tinky Winky, a gay role model damaging to the moral lives of children.
Oh, how about that?
That was the whole clip.
That's all. You want to hear it again?
Tinky Winky, a gay role model damaging to the moral lives of children.
Imagine where we'd be if it weren't for all these kids in the 90s growing up with Tinky Winky. Gay ass Teletubby.
Jesus.
They could have had normal things in their life, like Johnson Motors commercials. So this is boaters. You probably remember if you grew up in the 80s like us, you didn't have gay ass Teletubbies. You had boats. They advertised boat motors.
You got your sunrise. You caught a prize. You're making your Johnson. Party nights, summer whites. You, your friends, and your Johnson. Rooster tails, water trails. You, your kids, and your Johnson. Saturday nights, distant lights. You, your girl, and your Johnson.
You and your Johnson, a way of life for over 50 years.
That was more of an Evan Rude guy.
How about that?
Oh, thanks, bud.
Oh, how about that?
Was that Evan Rude? That's a boat motor too?
Yes, it is.
Sounds like it. I didn't have a boat. I never had no boats. You and your son, you and your kids and your Johnson. Do you want to play Guess That Sound?
Sure.
I don't like blatantly stealing without giving some credit.
Okay.
So I will say I got this from the exact same bit on the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you didn't listen to this week, did you?
I don't literally listen.
Okay,
to
cool.
them.
I've never stolen a what's that noise that they do. This time I am, so I'm a little self-conscious about it. I will say I got this from them because it's this cool. I forgot to tell you not to look.
Okay. The squeaky toy.
Would you have believed it was an alpaca if you didn't see it?
No, I would have thought it was a squeaky toy for sure.
It's melody.
Oh wow.
Looks like that guy that's a werewolf in the Twilight shows.
Oh yeah.
Actually, it looks like every kid now. Like all of Gen Z.
There's a
has
word
this
for that
fucking haircut.
There's a word for that haircut. I can't remember what it's called. Like
Yeah,
a mop
alpaca.
Yeah, alpaca.
Look at it when it's got on. That's every Gen Z kid.
Pretty much. Yes. Yeah, it's in right now.
Yeah.
Have you seen the videos of that donkey that went viral?
Well, Alan, did it involve a girl and like?
No.
Oh, okay.
He likes
sometimes it's a zebra, but you find out the stripes are just painted on, and it was a donkey the whole time.
He likes this squeaky chicken toy, and so now because he's like super popular, people send him squeaky toys.
That does sound familiar. I feel like I've seen like an unboxing video.
Yeah, he gets so excited when he gets his
yeah.
new squeaky toy. Yeah,
yeah, that is really cool. And like the owner is kind of loud in the videos.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I think that's why I never played it because it's like just, people can't just shut the fuck up and have a cool sound. Like they have to be a part of the show off camera.
Indeed.
Every once in a while, I record a cool video and I'm like, I couldn't shut up. Like I did exactly what I hate people for. Oh, do you want to hear this? So I stopped playing as many like cool songs things because it all got took over by AI. But for years we would play like fun sounds on here. There was like music, but done this way before AI was just making that very, very easy. So this is somebody doing Staying Alive by the Bee Gees if it was a blues song.
Staying Alive by the Bee Gees was a blues song.
You can tell by the way how you and I walk and my voice spinning. No time to talk. Music loud, wind and warm. I've been kicked around since I was born. Hey.
Now what if
fucking
that is really cool.
I was like, I mean, that's inspiring. It's like, oh, I could do that on saxophone then.
It sounds different than AI. You can tell it's more authentic. I don't know if I'm just
right. No, you're not wrong.
that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
That was really cool.
That was awesome. More.
How
I
about
was with the whole fucking song, but like it is inspiring because it makes you realize that okay, I can. Well, first I have to get, first I have to be able to play all the notes without it honking. But once I get that down,
indeed.
My sax instructor pointed out that I can't play the entire scale bottom to top. So I've only been doing that in practice. And the lowest notes are so fucking hard. But I finally realized that like, turns out you have to move your mouth around a little bit on it. So I like don't engage the reed at all for the lowest note. And it's a lot easier, but it's so fucking hard though. Especially I can play it if I go G all the way down to the lowest key, fine. But if I start off there, it's like
Can somebody isolate Dustin saying, turns out you got to move your mouth around a little bit?
James, it's been a while since you've done it. I keep expecting the clips to come in and they don't. That one is worthwhile. But,
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? James stopped doing it because I stopped calling him Jamie. Sorry.
Oh.
Jamie. Because we're friends like Timmy.
Right.
Hey, do you want to, we love being a little bit of a mental health podcast sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want a little self-esteem hack?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Going on Grindr is just testing for agency. Let's see what I'm worth. Like my teammate doing me well.
Go on Grindr.
I mean, let's see what I'm worth in the open market. I think all straight dudes should just download Grindr once in their life, upload their best pictures, and just get the dopamine and serotonin from dudes hitting on you. A lot of niggas gonna realize they're actually gay, but hey, you was already gay. Being a cock tease on Grindr is so funny.
Appreciate that game. Makes me that was very nice.
I needed that. Yo, my day been fucked up, but I don't like men. I'm just here to use you for dopamine. I'm not gonna lie.
That's what you tell your friends when they find that app on your phone, and you
you tell your wife, right? Like,
yes.
Oh no, it's just for my self-esteem.
It's just for my dopamine rush.
Oh, do you want to explain how your dopamine rush comes from men hitting on you?
Well, that's long been a thing. Like comedians say, like go to a gay bar, you'll feel.
We
like
had a clip with that. Yeah. Yep. Your dad sent this in.
Oh.
Alan's dad sent this. Your dad's been contributing. He had that bit that I mentioned on the show where it was, if Mexico is sending their rapists and their murderers, and you're saying they're taking your jobs, what exactly do you do for a living?
Right, I remember that.
Your dad's boomer posting on Max, but some of them are on point, man. All right, this is we're fans of malicious compliance, right?
Sure.
If you're gonna make me, I'll do it in a way that you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they want to put the 10 Commandments in school.
Hey teachers, are you forced to display the 10 Commandments in your classroom? Let's turn this into an educational opportunity. I have 3 creative ideas for you. Number 1, give equal time to all the world's religions. Right next to the 10 Commandments, decorate your walls with the precepts of Buddhism, the Baha'i faith, Confucianism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Jainism, Judaism, Shinto, Sikhism, Taoism, and Zoroastrianism, and all the others. It's high.
Yeah, sounds fun.
Zoroastrianism might be where it's at. I still every time I learn about Zoroastrianism, I'm like, oh man, these guys might have got it. I don't know.
Time we learn more. Number 2, choose 1 commandment each day for your warm-up, your bell ringer, and have students list as many political figures who have broken that commandment as possible. This is a timed activity, 4 minutes max. Whichever student has the longest and most accurate list, no lying, that breaks commandment 9, gets to leave 1 minute early for lunch. The kids are going to love this. Number 3, come to find out that there are actually 613 commandments in the Bible and realize you don't have to write bell ringers for years. That's making lemonade, y'all.
What does she mean about bell ringers?
Well, clearly she's a teacher, and so I think that's teacher speak for like what you do to open the day for the class.
Oh.
The bell rings. It's sort of like your cold open into.
Oh, school. it's like the it's not one of the top 10, but you're not supposed to have cloth of combined fabrics and stuff. Okay, yeah. Pork and things like that.
Sure.
Cloven beasts, things like that. You're probably not supposed to rape a woman that's bathing below you. I feel like David broke.
That seems like I think that's already in there.
Oh, that's somebody's wife. Yeah, but he had Uriah killed, so.
Oh,
there's a lot of Bible talk in this episode. All right. You know what's funny is elderly abuse, but aside from that, that was the whole thing about like sending the guy off to war to die. That was what David did to Uriah so he could have Bathsheba all to himself. Andrew Jackson's vice president, I think, or someone in his cabinet, there was a whole scandal about that. Something Eaton was his name, the Eaton scandal, I think. His wife was acquired, we'll say, after the husband was out of the picture in a similar way. And it's like, wow, this is straight out of the Bible. And nobody ever says that when they talk about that part of the history.
Wild.
Anyways, and that was back when they only had 1 book to read. All right. Speaking of biblical names, this is that Noah guy. He does the roast of political figures.
Yes.
I'm Noah, and I'm roasting one person from every U.S. state alphabetically. Today, I'll be roasting an Arizona sheriff and a man who looks like instead of water to brush his teeth, he uses vinegar, Joe Arpaio. To house inmates at his jail, Arpaio set up a complex of tents where temperatures reached as high as 145 degrees. That's not safe for people, but Arpaio probably got confused because it felt fine for him. After all, 145 degrees is safe for pork. Arpaio himself said that the tent city was a concentration camp. To be clear, I would never compare Arpaio to a Nazi. Why would I ever want to agree with Joe Arpaio? Arpaio made male inmates in his jail wear pink underwear, which he said was to prevent the underwear from being stolen, but which critics said seemed like an attempt to humiliate the inmates. It does raise the question of how to prevent female inmates from stealing underwear, but that was actually simple. They were told that the underwear had been touched by Joe Arpaio. The U.S. Department of Justice said that Arpaio's department had the worst pattern of racial profiling in American history. That's an incredible record. I'd say that Arpaio was the Michael Jordan of racist law enforcement, but I'm afraid he tried to arrest himself. Arpaio was eventually convicted of contempt of court for refusing to stop racially profiling. Arpaio maintained that he was innocent and vowed to catch whoever really kept racially profiling, noting that the culprit was probably Hispanic. All right, if you haven't already.
I don't know about that.
I just checked. Arpaio's still alive.
No, I was gonna say rest in piss.
92 years old. It's that evil sludge pumping through his veins, keeping him alive out there.
Yeah, you got whatever those online preachers have, you know.
Right.
That's terrible news. I didn't know that. Okay, one last, isn't that something? And I guess we're moving along swimmingly.
No, how about that still? We're still how about that?
Thanks, bud. One more, how about that? I have an AR Virtual reality. Okay, so this was going around. Natasha was the first person to send this in, but Ariel sent this in. A couple other people sent this in. Oh boy. I think Sam Harris has talked about this being a replacement for the way we treat inmates. And perhaps being more
humane or something.
That was the word I was pausing for. Thank you. Yep, more humane. It's terrifying. And if this is just an idea now, if this is being blown out of proportion, because the way this is being sent in, it's all, graphic images, it's not reality.
Right.
But they've got Neuralink working, and they're going to fine tune that. And eventually you can make someone feel like they spent 30 years in prison. I mean, there was that, I think it was a Black Mirror, right? Where it was like,
yes, there was a Black
but
Mirror.
it was multiple years. Yeah. Here.
Imagine mentally serving 10 years of prison time in just 10 minutes. A scientist is working to make this happen. Let me explain. Cognify, developed by Hashim Al-Galahi, is a futuristic approach to criminal rehabilitation.
It was Rick and Morty. It was a Rick and Morty. Remember where they go live a whole life and they come back and it was only like 10 seconds?
Oh, yes. I do remember that.
Yeah. He was like a carpet salesman or something.
That combines AI with neuroscience. The technology involves implanting artificial memories directly into a prisoner's brain, making them experience their crimes from the victim's perspective. The rehabilitation session lasts for several minutes but feels like years to the criminal due to the altered perception of time within their mind. This intense experience.
We got to say, I don't like that they say to the criminal because it's still a person, and like to say to the criminal of like, okay, whatever.
Experience aims to induce emotional states like remorse or regret, which some individuals may not produce on their own. Supporters of cognitive...
And that's where I'm torn, right? Like, if you could induce that to someone that doesn't have the capacity to feel that way, sitting in prison isn't going to do that for them. I'm not selling it. I'm not saying I like it.
But there's no way to know until they test it, like what the implications are further down the road.
Oh my God. And what if it, like, while you're fine tuning it, it's like 10,000 years.
I mean, you could really fuck up a person's brain with something like that. I don't know, man. That's scary shit.
Say it has the potential to revolutionize the criminal justice system by shifting the focus from punishment to rehabilitation, treating the people as patients instead of prisoners. They believe this method will lower the recidivism rate for prisoners and, quote, could enable them to reintegrate into society sooner and contribute to the workforce.
See, these technocrats, they make these words that sound good, right? Like, I mean, that sounds promising. Sure. Yeah. But I'm sure we'll test it on like pedos or something, right?
To your point about the criminal thing, she separates patient from prisoner, but not criminal from human, right? Like,
yes,
that's an odd dichotomy.
Yeah, yeah. Which isn't a fun thing to do. It's like, yeah, if I'm a victim of what these people did,
sure,
yeah,
sure.
While the potential benefits of Cognify are significant, the technology also raises several ethical concerns, including issues of consent, the potential for misuse, and the long-term psychological impacts on the individual. Many social media users have already drawn parallels to Clockwork Orange or a Black Mirror episode. What do you think about this method?
But
I mean,
hold on.
Oh, about that.
All you.
Let's hope Trump doesn't get his hands on that technology. I mean, he'll use it on his political opponents and be,
There's nothing wrong with that. The Supreme Court taught us that. That's later on in the show, though. Oh, that's in this segment.
Isn't that something?
So let's get into our Supreme Court ruling segment, which is what the Isn't That Something? No. Sorry. Isn't That Something has two categories: Supreme Court rulings and debate recap.
Oh,
don't worry. We'll talk about when they argued about playing golf. Don't worry.
We'll get there.
So court rulings. So first ruling I have is the why does this say this? Great rulings, this radical left wing. I'm going to read these words because I don't remember putting this here.
Oh, you were trying to be sarcastic. I can see.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Yes.
I have a great ruling. So the first one's a great ruling. Wow. Fucking showtime. Like Beetlejuice. It's showtime. So this radical left wing court, Alan, can you believe this? They overturned the Chevron doctrine.
Unbelievable.
So they took away executive power, which is clearly going to block Project 2025, undermining anything Trump wants to get done. And then it gave the president immunity so that he won't be able to persecute Joe Biden after he wins. I mean, tell me how this is bending over backwards for their boy Trump. I bet Trump's pissed off at this court, man.
That's exactly what happened, Dustin. Exactly, sir.
Exactly, sir. All right, let's do these somewhat in order. Here is a great summary of the Chevron. Like, if I say Chevron doctrine, people that know about it, like me and Alan, are like, I mean, could you in a sentence describe what happened, or do you go, the executives? Well, they have agencies, and those agencies get to decide things if it's ambiguous, and it's bad because it's overreach, but it's good because they probably know more about that than an average judge. Like, it is kind of hard to summarize. Actually,
Yeah, essentially, so it's any bureaucracy within the government who. Okay, fine. Play the clip.
Yeah.
Since the 1980s, the courts have operated under the Chevron deference, which is basically
deference. Makes me laugh every time.
Oh, I get
that if there is a statute that is ambiguous, then courts are required to defer to the agency interpretation of that statute. Now, in theory, that sounds pretty reasonable. Courts are not made up of specialist technical experts, and regulatory agencies.
So they record this like with someone in New York City live, and having just been there, I understand all the street noise now. Like, it's just nonstop fucking noise. When we walked out of our hotel room one day, there was just a guy in the street. You know those like food there's like little carriers that they use in restaurants to transport, not like in catering transport things.
Oh yeah,
they're on like 4 wheels, and they're about as tall as a person, and they have slots in them to put trays of food, right? There was a guy just cutting one in half with a Sawzall because it wouldn't fit in his van. I guess he was going to weld it back together.
Recycle it or something?
Yeah, I don't know, but it was like just in the middle of the street, and it was loud forever because the Sawzall is not an effective
There's
tool.
always like, there's always something. Construction or something.
Yeah. All right, so I'm sorry, listeners that heard me laugh when he said deference. Every time I hear the Chevron deference, it makes me think of Vas deferens.
To defer to the agency interpretation of that statute. Now, in theory, that sounds pretty reasonable. Courts are.
Okay, hold on. If anybody doesn't know this,
the 1980s, the courts have operated under the Chevron deference, which is basically that if there is a statute that is ambiguous, then courts are required to defer to the agency interpretation of that statute. Now, in theory, that sounds pretty reasonable. Courts are not made up of specialist technical experts, and regulatory agencies, for better or for worse, often for worse, rule often on quite technical subjects, and it's just a kind of complicated subject matter expertise intensive sort of activity. And so the idea was, well, let's let the subject matter experts do the interpretation. But in practice, what that meant was that regulatory agencies end up going hunting for ambiguity, and arguably in some cases just straight up inventing ambiguity, and then using that ambiguity to give themselves new powers that are not in the statute. And so Chevron deference has empowered the executive branch to basically write its own ticket, to decide what it wants to do, independent of what the statute says. And that has been a huge problem over the last 40 years. The end of Chevron deference means that the courts are going to actually be the ones to interpret those statutes where they are ambiguous. And that gives the courts the opportunity to say to regulatory agencies, you have overstepped your bounds. Your interpretation is not acceptable. This probably will mean that there will be a bunch of litigation here, although John Roberts in his decision did say, all these old decisions, you can't just relitigate every single one of them. But going forward, when agencies try to invent basically new powers for themselves by saying, well, the language here is a little bit fuzzy, so we think we have the wiggle room, courts will not automatically be required to accept the agency ruling. That is a good thing. This is a huge win for limited government.
I tend to agree. I tend to agree. I don't like it, but I hate more the fishing expeditions that were done so that they could manipulate the decisions that were made.
Yeah.
It's just funny I said that because the whole thing started, the whole Chevron deference, Vas deferens. This is a vast difference than the original statement. The whole initial thing was about like fishing rights or a decision about fishing, but they would go on fishing expeditions to get facts that would suit. It's just like lobbyists. They would find an expert that would convince a room full of idiots that their decision that was best for them was ideal, and it would hurt us, the public. I don't know that the overall effect from that will be worse, though, having a judge make the decision.
Yeah, I don't like the power grab by the court here. we're going to talk more about some other things they did this week, but yeah, I don't like this any better. I guess. I mean, you have to have regulatory agencies regulate or create regulation, right? But I guess if there are things that are disputed, I feel like that should be dealt with in the legislative branch, not the judicial. I don't know.
Yeah, but at the same time, do you want this legislative branch making these decisions?
I prefer that to these 9 people.
Yeah, well, it won't be these 9 people though. It'll be, thousands of
Different
people appointed
circuits,
by
of course.
Trump and Biden.
Sure. Ultimately, that could be those 9 people if it goes that far. But
yeah, the big ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They ultimately overturned it by ignoring stare decisis, which is the same thing they ignored to overturn Roe versus Wade. So that's 2 major things. Stare decisis basically means like settled law.
Precedent.
You don't have to think about it. This is settled law.
Yes.
All right, we'll dismiss this case, right?
Mhm.
And they were like, well, there's this 1946 thing that says that technically this, which was about regulatory capture and avoiding it. I mean, this is regulatory capture. They found specialists that could convince the people in the agencies to make the decision that was better for the corporations. Like, that's not good for us.
No, I agree with that. I mean, this court seizes on things when it's convenient for them. So they're textualists when it's convenient to be a textualist. I mean,
Let's get into that. Let's get into it. My last note on this next subject is they had to employ textual backflips in order to make their case. So January 6th charges were dropped. Let me play this clip from Roger Parloff on the Lawfare podcast.
This is 1512C2, 18 USC 1512C2, corrupt.
So the January 6th, many of the January 6th, what?
Insurrectionists?
Sure. They had, so nobody had the same, had a charge of corrupt, what is it? Corrupt
obstruction of a government
procedure. Nobody had that as their only felony charge.
Right.
People had that as an enhancement on their misdemeanors, and it gave them longer terms in their sentencing.
Yes.
But nobody was charged with it by itself.
Right.
Okay. That's an important part. But I feel like he's going to get right into it. He's going to describe the law. Do you think there's anything you should do to set it up first, or should we just get into it?
No, I've heard this. I think he does a pretty good job.
Okay.
18 USC 1512C2, corrupt obstruction of an official proceeding. And it matters because it's one of the most important charges in the January 6th cases. It's been charged against at least 355 people out of, there have been 1,427 federal cases. So that's about 25%. Now, the DOJ is, that sounds pretty dire. If this were throwing those charges out, that sounds dire. It's not exactly, even if that's what it's doing, it's not that catastrophic. And it's not clear, as we'll get into, whether, even though the defendants won, it's not crystal clear that those charges are going to have to be dismissed in all cases. And also, of those 355, a lot have already been resolved on other grounds. Remember that nobody was charged with this alone. Most were charged with other federal felonies. The remainder were charged with other misdemeanors. And so there's really, there's about 249 at this point that have not been resolved using other statutes. And of those, only 52 are where 1512C2 is the only felony. And of those, only 27 are currently still in incarceration.
Okay. I mean, there's one person that's been charged with this that is probably noteworthy.
Yeah, although, we'll get to that.
How will this affect Donald? Wait, hold on. How's it?
No, you cannot do that, Donald.
Yeah, Donald. Okay. Thought it was Donald.
I don't know if it even matters after the next one I think we're going to get to. But
King Donald?
Yeah. So just the sort of the details of this, essentially what they decided was that
the word otherwise mattered.
Yeah.
Oh, you turned into you're frozen. Alan, come back. Oh no, it's like Superman 3 or whichever Superman where there's the Bizarro guys. I don't want to have to edit. What happened? I still have internet. Guys, we will take a brief intermission while I text Alan. I'm calling him.
I don't know what happened, dude. My router's coming back up. It's going to be a minute for
Well, I know, but the video is recording, so can you just talk into the phone while it restarts?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so hold on. I have a sound for when we get cut in half.
Oh, yeah.
Here, hold on. I think I found it. No, I didn't. Oh, here. Okay.
This was a particularly bad case of somebody being cut in half.
Okay. Alan's router decided to reset. So do you remember what you were saying? You were talking about the word otherwise.
Yeah. So essentially what they decided was that because there was no document at the heart of what the insurrectionists were doing, that
is it okay if we call it a riot? Because I've seen people that I respect be like, there's a riot that got out of control. It's not an insurrection. It's like, okay, a riot that went out of control, sparked by the former president so that he would not lose being in office. Yes.
Yes.
Is that better?
That's exactly. That's sure. That works for me. So what they essentially, they got caught up in this language in that 1802 section, whatever.
C.
Yeah.
And it's section C because there's a section before that says all this stuff. And section C starts with the word otherwise.
Right. And so they're saying that the interpretation of otherwise being things other than the document involved is inaccurate. They're basically
saying that section C means that you have to that these things all have to do with whether you corruptly obstructed to like a document related government event.
Yes.
And this wasn't a document related thing. To the extent that there was documents, they were opening and counting votes, but those aren't documents. That's a procedure, but that's not like, that's not the same as like filling out a form. That's counting. Yes. That's different. It's like, yeah, I'm really sure. Hey, Alan's back. Hold on. You're back. You're back. Yeah.
Okay. And we're back.
I'm really sure that when they were writing all that shit down, they were like, okay, but just to be clear, if the president causes a riot, not an insurrection, but a riot.
A riot.
And that gets out of control. And the whole purpose of that is to interrupt the counting of the votes so that he can cause some confusion. And then they can say, well, look at this. We got 2 slates of electors. These ones are totally fake, but we better go straighten that out. And in the meantime, there'll be a bunch of chaos. And maybe in the process, we'll wing it and it'll be cool and I'll get to stay president. That is not the same thing. And we like that. That's what they said, right?
That's what they said. That's exactly what they said.
And it was all off of the fucking word otherwise.
Otherwise.
Like, so Roberts and Barrett make this rule and then turn around and say like the next day, JK, president has absolute immunity. It's like, why did you even make this? Like, why do you have to go through all of those loops to say all that when it also doesn't matter because it could just be an official procedure?
Right. Well, I mean, it does matter to the people who aren't Donald Trump. However, as Parloff was saying there, most of the people who were accused of that charge, I mean, that's going back 2 years or more, right? So most people that were accused of that charge have already
been in prison for 1.5 years.
Or pled out.
Yeah,
had a plea deal.
Right. And they'd have to go risk having a new. Right. We'll talk about that. I'm cutting. You know what? You didn't get to talk for a little bit, Alan.
So if you pled out based on that charge and then you want to relitigate it, now the government can bring up other shit that they've learned since that. So
they've got a chance to go look at more footage and be like, we didn't see it before, but you did punch a cop.
Yeah, you hit a cop with a fire extinguisher. Remember that? Yeah. Now you're going to get another 6 months.
Yeah. So it's not going to affect very many people, but that's not the point. This was
it's just
it's amazing. I mean, so I think in the dissent they said that the opinion uses textual backflips.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember the context of the phrase textual backflips? Is that putting you on the spot too much?
Yeah, I don't remember exact context.
Yeah.
They were talking about the interpretation
Like, this is
of
the
otherwise.
textualist court, and they're like, see, otherwise. Okay, let's start with the word otherwise and work backwards. How can we make that make sense?
I mean, Thomas has done that in his opinions before, where he'll cite like the definition of a
It's hard to
word.
do backflips inside an RV.
Not that
Or a
RV.
private jet.
Not that private jet. They're pretty roomy.
Pretty big?
Pretty roomy, yeah.
I'd like to see that, actually.
No, but
I'd like to see him do a backflip with the gown on. Apparently, he's got a massive hog. Remember, he talks about the Coke can.
What was I saying? Oh, so Thomas has cited definitions of words in specific dictionaries from like
words.
the 1800s to prove a point, when clearly the definition of a word changes over time.
Did he ever argue about the word niggardly?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, okay. It just means ignorant.
Yes.
I would never I thought twice before saying it. I said it anyways, because if you want to argue me about the definition of that word, you're the one that looks ignorant. Or
it's in the Webster's. It's in the Webster's.
Now, I would advise you against using it, especially in on the podcast.
A social setting, perhaps. Yeah.
I'm feeling hot after saying that. I don't like how this feels. I think Natasha's going to talk to me. She's going to be like, just don't next time. Just don't. Yeah. Alan, should I cut that? I don't think so.
We kind of let it hang.
That's you saying it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to leave it in. It's a fucking word.
It's a real word.
It is. And it doesn't mean what it sounds like.
No.
Okay. And I would have said that about somebody else too. It's not just because he's black. It's worse.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I just thought of it now. But you talked about words changing over time.
Right.
And he takes old words. It's like, well, here's one we don't use.
Well, he cherry picks like a specific definition that will support his argument. Is what he does. Yes.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'm still feeling hot. I don't like how that felt. Let's talk about King Donald.
Yes,
so here's the concern. So we'll talk about the content of limited absolute immunity. I think that's the best way to put that. We kind of debated about that in the pre-show, hidden track. But he has absolute immunity on official acts, is what they settled on, right?
Presumptive immunity at minimum. So essentially, like innocent till proven guilty. This is
to the extent that you can't bring certain types of evidence against him, and
so at the very base, it's presumptive immunity, and for certain official acts, it's absolute immunity. Cannot be pierced. Cannot even be looked at. Can't even be brought up in connection to something that is presumptive and probably isn't immune. But yeah, we'll get into it. But yeah, that's.
I don't know how much more you're talking about things being pierced. What about tattooed? All right.
Well, the legal term for getting past immunity is piercing the immunity.
Oh.
And so what they decided in this decision was that the only way that you could pierce presumed immunity is if you can prove that by doing so, you wouldn't in any way limit or sort of hold back the power of the executive.
I'm just staring at you.
Which is a very difficult standard to prove. Which
I see. Right.
Yes.
So you're like tying your hands behind your back and being like, now prove it.
Yes. Okay. And I mean, the worst part, I know you have bullet points that we're kind of getting at it.
Dude, Alan, I don't even know what are those bullet points. I just got them out of my head at one point.
The most part, probably the most egregious part of this ruling, which even ACAB Barrett was kind of like, no, that doesn't make any. Even though she
Barrett like did this weird like I'm dissenting half,
but I'm also concurring.
Yeah.
And so the most egregious part of this opinion is that. So if you do an official act as a president that is defined as absolute immunity, you determine it's absolute immunity. That's something that the executive should be able to do regardless of consequence or motivation. But that leads to an act which does not qualify as absolute immunity, qualifies as presumptive immunity, and it is determined that act, you can't.
If that's downstream from something that has absolute immunity,
so you can pierce that immunity. You can't bring into the conversation any of the stuff that happened prior to it that it has.
Which is exactly how Trump operates. It's like I'm going to do all these things over here where nobody can prove it. Here's what I do out in the open. Good luck proving it because you don't have all the facts, so you can't. Like I always have plausible deniability. They magnified that.
Yes, exactly. So if the president goes out and gives a speech and says
Joe Biden,
he's going to, he's any president here forward, goes out and gives a speech and says he's going to do something illegal, and then he does it. You can't take that the speech part where he said he was going to do it, because that was an official act as a president.
Yeah.
You can't bring that into evidence.
Then
to
you
say,
have
look,
to find something in the way he did it.
yes,
That's okay. That's dumb.
It's really dumb.
That's not logically consistent.
No, it's not. It's funny if you watch the lawfare episode they did about this.
I was hoping no, they haven't posted it yet.
Oh, I watched it on YouTube.
Yeah. Talk about that. I mean, we're talking about this. My clip is about. I have a clip of all the justices saying how they would, nobody's above the law. I can't wait to play that.
So Parloff, which we played a clip of earlier, he's he's been around for a long time.
He's the old man.
He's very
Methuselah of the law firm.
right, but he is very familiar with the ins and outs of everything legal, right? Well, especially in this space. And you could just tell he was like flustered. His like mind was blown. He was like, I haven't had a chance to process this yet, so I'm kind of flying blind here.
He's like, as a legal expert, this makes no fucking sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then fucking Wittes had asked Quinta to go through the Washington case, the Jack Smith case about J6 in DC,
and determine like what could still be prosecuted.
Right.
Was there anything there?
She said, I spent 3 hours on this, and I can't tell you that there's this test that they gave us. It doesn't make any sense. There's no way to legally determine if this. So
they just made in clarifying it, they made a decision that turned it into mush.
And the best part was they said, we're going to give you this test, and then we're going on summer vacation.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in my RV.
Yeah, we're going to send this back to the.
I'm going to jump in my gifted RV.
Right, we're going to send this back to the lower court and let you deal with it.
No, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that because in episode 362, I predicted exactly this. I said they're going to wait until the last day of their session.
Which they did.
And they're going to send it back to the lower court, which is maximizing the amount of time that they can give Donald Trump as a fucking gift. If this was important, they would have made this decision earlier and got the ball rolling so that anything could take place to prevent someone who would not qualify to be president from being president, or at least inform the voters that, hey, this guy did these things.
The only thing I would change about if this was important, I would say it's not that it wasn't important to them. It's that they had a vested interest in doing it this way. And two of the justices on this court should have absolutely recused themselves from even weighing in on this case. Fucking Thomas. I mean, this court is up for sale.
This was a hard decision to take. It was harder to take as a 6-3 decision on these party lines when if it was a 4-3 decision and they recused themselves, it would still baffle me, but I'd be like, well, like it's bullshit with 6.
So if Alito and Thomas had recused themselves, I feel like Roberts and the other conservative justices would have come to Amy Coney Barrett's side, and probably that would have been the more reasonable opinion. Yeah. But because of Thomas and Scalia, that didn't happen. So here we are. So become a billionaire so you can buy Supreme Court justices and get the rulings you like. That's the plan.
Yep. Yeah. And get laws written that you like as well.
Yep.
Let's see. I'm looking at my notes. Says I'm talking testimony. I can't read my notes. It's fine. Let me play this clip.
Okay.
So this is every conservative justice when they were being confirmed saying that they wouldn't do this.
Yeah.
No one's above the law
Kavanaugh.
in the United States. That's a foundational principle that I've talked about, coming from Federalist 69, coming from the structure of the Constitution.
I don't think the president is above the law.
It's actually weird that he cited Federalist 69 because kind of the point of Federalist 69 is that there should be a strong executive that doesn't get questioned. And like Federalist 69 starts talking about how people say it would be like a king, except this king would get elected every 4 years by the people. And if he was good enough, they'd reelect him. And it's like, I wouldn't cite Federalist 69 if I was trying to say that everyone's above the law. Like
that no one's above the law.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
No person in this country, no matter how high or powerful, is above the law.
I believe that no one is above the law under our system, and that includes the president. The president is fully bound by the law.
No man is above the law.
Does he have that power?
No man is above the law, Senator.
Okay.
I agree. No one is above the law.
No one's above the law in the United States. That's a foundation.
Started over.
So there's a disagreement. So first of all, in the Roberts opinion, which was the majority opinion of the case, he writes that this does not mean that the president is above the law. He absolutely is not. And he's like, yeah, but you then read the rest of it, dude. So in Barrett's opinion, her concurring opinion, she says that
her split concurrence.
Yeah, what the president.
I'm gonna pour some wine.
Okay, when the president called Mike Pence and put pressure on him to not sign the electors or accept the electors as they were, she says that absolutely that immunity can be pierced, and that would not be considered an official act, and they could.
Oh, I have thoughts about this. Okay,
but in the legal test that Roberts sets out in his the majority opinion, so the test is.
Well, do you say what he says and then say that the test? Sorry, that test.
I'm going to paraphrase because I don't have it in front of me. But what he says is essentially that if the action in question can be pierced, in other words, the immunity can be overcome, only if by doing so you're not in any way putting any sort of limit on what the executive can do in an official act, or even causing them to hesitate or pause in doing so. So if in any way piercing that immunity would cause a future executive to say, hey, wait a second, maybe I need to think about this decision because I could be prosecuted for it later, if it is an official act or not an official act, then you can't pierce that.
So just, you mean an effective White House counsel would be able to argue that this was done as an official act or in a way that would limit a future president from hesitating in that moment?
So yes. And so after that, the example Roberts uses is that exact same Pence thing where he says, so the Pence thing, you can't pierce that because the executive has to be able to tell his vice president what he wants him to do. And so if you pierce that immunity, then now the executive has, you've taken away that ability of the executive to function, effectively. And so it's like, well, how does a test make any sense whatsoever? Especially in that instance, Pence is acting as a member of the legislature when he's overseeing.
Yeah, that's part of the role of the vice president is to oversee the.
So that is a separation of powers. He's not even under the executive branch.
Shit.
So it's like, what the fuck, dude?
Dude, wait, that's a huge point.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah. Quinta brings it up. I'll give her credit. I didn't just come up with that all by myself.
Shut up, Alan. You're good. I don't cite every source. It's okay. It's okay. Hey, man, if you steal from me, you stole twice, right? Like, embody that. It's fine. Say it with some sass, and then you're good. Right. Put some spin on it, and it's all yours. All right. So the other thing that I said, no, Alan, what? I don't want to hear it. You know, Natasha didn't know about that.
Really? How?
Because I don't know how. I never shared it to her because I was like, well, I'm sure she's seen this. I don't have any reason to share this to her. And she was like, this is on Saturday night. She's like, what's, and then she like didn't know how to say it. She's like, what's Hawk Tua? And I'm like, and I was like, I don't know what you're asking me. Are you asking me like who she is? She's like, what is this as a thing? And I'm like, give me your phone, go to your Explore page. She's like, I don't go to the Explore page. I know, but like, let me see your Explore page. I go to her Explore page. I scrolled until my thumb was tired. It was just like beauty tips, burlesque, and puppies. It was nothing. She lives in a fantasy world with unicorns and sparkles.
You know what? Good on you, Tosh. That's the best place
to be. You know what's funny? I go to my Explore page. It's stand-up comedy, Instagram hoes, and Vizsla dogs. Like not even another dog, maybe a German short hair, but that's it. Like, I've kind of curated it to my taste.
I'm not going to tell you what's on mine.
I don't want to know, Alan. I don't want to know. All right. So, So then, like, when we went to the river on Sunday, she was like asking people if they ever heard of her, and like everybody was like, "Yes." Like, but they were all like, "My husband showed me." It's like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't show you. Like,
she's like doing the podcast circuits now. I'm seeing her on shows.
Well, you know what? I don't care to make a segment of our show about her.
Yeah.
But last week she signed with a talent agency, and last week I was like, I wonder how that's going to work out. And then first thing Monday, it started. She was at a Luke Bryant concert. She was.
She's got merch.
Actually, I have her. Did I not put it in the show? Oh man, it was supposed to be in the pre-show.
Oh.
I don't know where I put it. Yeah, she was. I have a clip of her. I guess it's in Culture Wars. Or I skipped it in the pre-show. She was doing a, you know what? Maybe it's in here somewhere. We'll find out.
We'll
I'll
find
just
out.
go.
It'll be a little
go
Easter
through the
egg.
list. All right. So in episode 362 of a little show called None Taken, I said that if they make this decision, so what did they decide? We weren't very clear with everything. They decided to send it back to the lower court. Hey, you need to clarify about what's an official act and what isn't.
So essentially, she has to go through everything that's in that. Chutkan.
Judge Chutkan. Yes.
So she has to go through everything that's in that indictment, essentially line
You
by
say
line.
has to. I would say gets to.
Okay. But we're talking about like thousands of rulings.
Yeah, well, she gets to call witnesses. She gets to have a trial. She now has authorization to subpoena Mike Pence, Mark Meadows, all of their staffers. Here's my note. Here's my note from episode 362. So if it goes back, so this is what I said 4 months ago. If this goes back to district court for appeals, Chutkan gets to determine what were official and what were private acts. This means all the way through the election, she can be laying out evidence as to how, why, and in what ways Trump committed non-immune crimes.
Yes.
If the Supreme Court won't do their job and insists on Chutkan answering them, then she is obligated to make the trial public and let us all weigh in come election day. I'm optimistic about this. I'm mad at them, but he is not out of the woods politically.
Yeah, I think that this does a lot to, especially with Cannon down in Florida, this ruling, which we haven't even talked about fucking Thomas's concurring opinion.
What?
I'll get into it real quick. Yeah. All right. So among other things that Thomas said in his concurring opinion with
and you're talking about the tank engine or Clarence?
Clarence.
Wait, wasn't Clarence a tank engine? Clarence was from, I'm going to look up Clarence from Thomas the Tank Engine. You keep talking.
He was a train.
He wasn't he? I think so.
No, Thomas was the train.
I know, but there was a lot of trains.
Yes, there were a lot of trains. All right, so part of his opinion, he goes into something which was not part of this case, was not briefed in the oral arguments. No other justice included.
I had a whole show cover planned, but then I just saw this.
Okay. No other justice included anything about this in their opinion because it wasn't part of the case. Oh, that's hilarious. That's fantastic.
Go on. Say what did he? You said his concurrence, something about Florida. I was looking at Thomas the Tank Engine with Clarence's head on the front.
So, as you may be aware, the Trump's defense lawyers have proposed 2 motions to dismiss the trial. One based
in
on
Miami or in South Florida.
In Florida, yeah. One based on a
case.
Yes,
where he stole documents and didn't give them back.
Correct. So one based on appropriations and one based on appointment. So the appointments, they're saying that Jack Smith wasn't appointed constitutionally. Essentially that.
And then they changed the version of that halfway through it too.
Right. So essentially saying that because he wasn't confirmed by the Senate, that he has no standing. The appropriations is that the way that it was funded also is not constitutionally legal. So Thomas decides in this opinion about presidential immunity, he decides to add on, hey, by the way, I don't think that the appointment of Jack Smith was legal either. It just throws it in there, like just says, really? Yeah, yes. And so it's bizarre. Like I said, this was never covered at all in any of the oral arguments, any of the briefings.
He keeps doing that. This isn't the first opinion he's done that, where he's interjected other ideas.
Right,
and it's all to induce future legal litigation.
Right.
By the way, I'm sympathetic to this. If you bring it in, you can count on one.
Right. So essentially what that does is give Cannon cover to dismiss the case based on those grounds, knowing that no longer sounds like a wackadoo legal argument because, hey, one of the 9 Supreme Court justices just said it was cool.
Yeah.
And so that's probably going to happen. So I think the documents case is probably gone.
Which is the most blatant one. Like, it's the one that's like, he clearly stole these and kept it in his bathroom.
Well, the other thing about, especially the immunity ruling now, is that Trump's defense has been like, well, I declassified those documents, and that is within the power of the executive to do. Now, nobody can confirm that he did that. It's not in writing. Nobody ever heard him say that. But if he has...
I did it as an official act.
If he has absolute immunity, he just says, I did it, and then who's going to say he didn't? I mean, you can't even approach it.
I mean, when this was first floated, we were like, no, you don't get to just say things were...
By osmosis. Like,
yeah. And that is essentially what as long as he can lie.
Right.
Oh, we should just not vote for people that lie.
Oh, that'd be great. Oh, wait, but they're politicians, so that'd be problematic.
Put
So
them
I
under
think
oath before they debate. And
I think the documents case is probably gone. Georgia is still, in a mess because of the Fani
Willis
Willis
tossed, man. It's gonna get tossed
situation.
by that review board.
I think that's going to get tossed too. So all that's left, really, I think, is the DC case. I don't think this will touch the New York case that was already, decided.
They said they'd wait. The DA said they'd be willing to wait. I don't know what the impact of that statement means, though.
We'll see. But I mean, Jack Smith's got an uphill climb based on this ruling for sure. But that's the only case I think that might survive it.
Look, man, presidents are like velociraptors.
Ooh.
They're constantly testing the fence.
Oh.
The Supreme Court just moved the fence way closer to king-like powers.
Yes.
I'm not going to say anything hysterical.
No.
But what I just said is factually accurate. The executive branch in our lifetime has moved, thanks largely to Dick Cheney, but it's constantly moving to expand. The whole point of the Chevron decision was the executive branch has acquired too much strength here, and they don't want to lose that power. That's why it was brought to trial and made its way to the Supreme Court. The executive branch did not want to lose the ability to make those decisions, right?
Yep.
Okay. So they're like velociraptors. They're constantly testing the fence, and they just move the fence closer to king-like powers. These judges spend so much fucking time looking into the past for things, almost just ignoring the concept of the future and like the creep towards acquisition of power.
Well, would be cool is if they looked far enough into the past to the founding of this country, and two of the principles were the separation of church and state, and that we don't want a fucking king. That would be cool. It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's talk about the elections. I mean, not the election. This is sorry, I have a tab in the show sheet that says elections, but that's our debate segment this week.
Okay.
Some highlights of the debate, some commentary on the debate, just to ease us in there, because I figured we'd need a transition as we did this. If I say Admiral Stockdale, do you have any idea who I'm talking about?
No.
So Admiral Stockdale, that's it, YouTube. Don't open it in your new window. That's cool. So Admiral Stockdale, do you remember Ross Perot, Alan?
Mm-hmm. That was his VP pick, right?
I was going to say, could you have named his VP if I didn't say
that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So nobody thinks about people's VPs like in general. It's kind
nobody thinks about Ross Perot in general.
I think about Ross Perot all the time. I mean, Michael Dukakis is a funny vice presidential candidate to remember, only because his name is Michael Dukakis. I was a first grader. I knew that name because it sounded like caca. I remember it. We would call each other Dukakis on the schoolyard. I was such a political creature my entire life. I would go home and read Newsweek, especially
hilarious.
Like during the Iraq War. I was like, "Ooh, this is fascinating." The first one, the Gulf War.
I remember being in I think it was third grade in Cambria, and all my classmates were lining up on one side or the other of Bush and who was it? Who was the opposite of Bush back in the day? I don't remember.
Clinton.
No, before before that.
Dukakis.
Yeah, Dukakis. I remember
88.
Michael
Dukakis.
Yeah.
I said vice president. I fucked up. Yeah,
I remember
Michael Dukakis versus George Bush. Yeah,
I remember being on the swing set and kids were yelling out which one they liked
That's
better
funny.
because their parents. Yeah.
Oh, so all y'all were like that. I felt like a weirdo. I didn't know anybody. That knew. I've always been a political creature. In 5th grade, I won they had a competition of people that wrote a speech to do the 5th grade graduation speech. And I did a Bill Clinton impression. I was I did the thumb thing. My fellow Deer Canyon citizens. And everybody thought it was a riot. My dad
awesome.
I should find that. Of course,
just to be clear,
I talk to my stepdad though, if I'm going to have to get that.
To be clear, I didn't know what they were talking about. I had to find out later at home. So I wasn't aware as they were, but yeah.
Selling yourself short, Alan.
I know.
Right. So this is Ross Perot's vice president at the vice presidential debates of 1992.
Ooh.
So they go through them, and they're now full context. They're asking a question about abortions, and I think what he's implying is, "Why are you asking me?" But opening line from this guy.
Admiral Stockdale, your opening statement, please, sir.
Who am I? Why am I here? I'm not a politician. Everybody knows that. So don't expect me to use the language of the Washington Insider. 37 years in the Navy, and only one of them up there in Washington. And now I'm an academic.
Statement, please, sir.
Who am I? Why am I here?
That's it. That's the end. You know, that's the equivalent of saying I ended Medicaid. We killed Medicaid.
I don't know, dude. I don't mind that. It's not an opening statement.
I mean, if I put it in the context of how I presented it, it seems pretty interesting, right?
Yes,
like,
yeah.
It didn't go over well.
How did I get this beautiful house?
Where is my beautiful wife? Watching the days go by. Perfect, Alan. I'm here for your Talking Heads references.
Hell yeah.
So, with all the rules in their favor, the Democrats walked into that debate saying, we put a mute button on Donald Trump. We're having it on CNN. We're, just everything's working in their favor. Like, really, it's kind of amazing that the Trump campaign decided to do it. We're going to do it months earlier than we normally do these things.
Yeah.
And Biden walked into there ready to kick a 30-yard field goal inside of a domed stadium.
Yeah, it was easy mode.
Biden
you just had to pass.
Yep.
Very low bar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you shut up for a second? Biden runs up to the fucking football and dribbles it into his center's ass. Right?
Yes.
God. That said, there's been a lot of time to process this. And it was interesting to hear how everybody reacted to it after me and you watched the whole fucking thing and commented on it. Thrash joined us. We asked him a couple of questions at the end. We left being like, this was a fucking abortion.
Yeah.
But you were like, I don't know. It wasn't that bad. And I was like, I felt like pretty quick in that he's fucking this up. And, I was hopeful he'd have a chance to redeem himself, but that didn't happen. That said, the way people have talked about it since then, it wasn't quite that bad. It wasn't the worst I could have imagined it, but it's in the bottom 10%, right? In context, it was 90 minutes with no notes with an old man after 9 p.m.
Right. And he got a couple of jabs in, but the ones that should have been
haymakers, the ways he did them, though.
The ones that should have been haymakers, easy haymakers, he didn't pull off. He couldn't pull off.
I haven't thought about that. And I think it's better effective now, and I might forget about it later. Did you ever see the movie Up?
Yeah, of course.
Do you remember that dog that was like the leader of the bad guys?
So not the squirrel, the bad dog.
The bad dog.
Yes.
Remember when he lost his cool voice? He lost the ability.
Oh, yeah.
And then he nothing changed. He was the same person, but his voice was different.
Mm-hmm.
That was how Biden looked. He's like, this guy's got the morals of an alley cat. I have a cold. Feel bad for me. It didn't matter. I have a clip of him in the soundboard somewhere. Oh, I just deleted the soundboard. Great.
Oh, no.
Where he's like, my son, right? When he said that in the 2020 election, it shut him the fuck up. And he tried to say it on this one, and it
fell flat because he couldn't really actually.
Yeah, here.
My son, fortune, my son, and
that
he didn't have a job. My son.
That was 4 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was not the person we saw talking 6 days ago.
Not at all. No.
Yeah, it reminded me of the dog in Up. So a real current reference that everybody can understand. But to quote Jill Biden, he did, which will come up later in the Best of the Left segment. He did answer all of the questions.
Unlike Trump.
Which is very good. I'm going to save this commentary. I'll say it again then. When she said that, she sounded like a school teacher. She was like, you answered all the questions. You are a good boy. Don't worry. We'll get you chocolate chip. Not 2 scoops, only 1. Winners get 2.
Big school teacher vibes. Yes,
it was. It was.
Yes.
He did have his libertarian moment, though. We beat Medicaid.
God,
he's bringing in all the libertarians. What the fuck did he mean by that?
I mean, the one, Trump pretty much lied throughout the entire debate and didn't answer most of the questions.
Right. But what does this teach you? You can lie and it works.
Like you would expect. That one, when he said, I don't know what he just said, and I don't think he does either.
Haymaker that was it.
That was
that was like when Mondale versus Reagan. Reagan was 73 and Mondale, I don't know, in his 40s, 50s. I'm not sure. But they asked Reagan whether his age would be a factor. And Reagan said, well, I won't hold Mondale's youth against him, and that shut that shit down. Even though in Reagan's final message of that debate, he got into some like diversion while he was talking about a car ride along the coast of California.
His golf game?
What?
It was his golf game. Did he get into?
I'm talking about Nixon.
No, I'm kidding.
Or I'm talking about Reagan.
Oh, Reagan. Yes.
Okay. Can I make my point?
Yes.
Okay. So Reagan shut down the whole age question by saying, "I won't hold his youth against him" with Mondale, even though at the end of that debate, Reagan got into some meandering story about a car ride he was in, and the moderator had to jump in and be like, "All right, Mr. President, we're going to set you down over here." Nobody remembers that. They remember Reagan saying, "I won't hold his youth against him," and it shut down the age question until he died of Alzheimer's. Like,
wow.
Yeah. What were you going to tell me about I'm going to play the clip about the golf later.
I was just trying to make a pun.
What was it?
You said to close the debate, he said this, and I was like, "Oh, do you talk about his golf game?"
Remember the old men argued about golf?
Yes.
Yeah. And thank God Biden picked the podium on the right-hand side and let Trump have the last word. Imagine if he didn't do that, it would have been a complete abortion. It would have been a third tribe. It would have been a post-birth abortion, as Trump's always talking
between
about.
The woman and the
pissed
state.
Me off? I had so many people saying, like, what is this post-birth abortion thing? I was like, dude, it's a complete misinterpretation of facts. It's if a child is born with a birth defect that's going to cause them to die in like a day or two horrifically through torture and suffering, they have a way of shortening the life in a more humane way. And it's like, that's just to pick that as a political tool to use.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. It really is. And it's like, how do you get to have what I just said with every person that hears that, Yeah. Joe had one fucking job in this debate. And I said it on the Wednesday show before we did our debate episode. When the camera's not on you, keep your fucking mouth shut. He does. I was like, as long as he doesn't do the old man thing where he's got his mouth open. And then, like, did he not know that they were going to do the split screen? Like, did they not tell him? Because it was constantly energetic Trump arguing in one window, and on the other side, Joe doing this, just catching flies.
It was pretty bad.
Just waiting for the airplane to land, right?
Yeah, it was not a good look.
Oh, so Operation Bubble Wrap has been going on for a long time. Not a Trump media term. Operation Bubble Wrap is the Democrats, or at least the Biden administration term for how they have limited his exposure to media, his media appearances. Now, I tried to find a good bullet point list of what Operation Bubble Wrap consists of. Good luck Googling that. Google is such fucking garbage. All I found was like articles that were about it, but I couldn't get a summary or
the White House.
And then like Google results about the history of fucking bubble wrap. I can tell you some questions about bubble wrap if you're curious. Started off as a couple of shower curtains pressed together, and it was going to be wallpaper originally. Wow, did you know that? I learned that today trying to find this, and then I gave up and I said, "Fine, I'll just play the Reason Roundtable where they summarized Operation Bubble Wrap."
Staff has had a Biden management strategy that they call Operation Bubble Wrap, which limits his unscripted encounters and makes him available to reporters less than any president in our lifetimes, keeps his public speaking engagements between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., and makes sure that Dr. Jill Biden always has a physical or metaphorical arm on his or hand on his arm. This has been known for many, many months, and yet there's been a cohort among Democrats and journalists to insist that Biden has the strength of 10 men.
And the problem is it creates a emperor has no clothes moment, right? Mm-hmm. Like, although I keep hearing people say that, and that's not true either. Because at the end of this, like when I said a minute ago that this wasn't as bad as it could have been, I meant that. Because we all went into this knowing he's an old fucking man. There was an optimistic version of that the Democrats put out. There's the Trump version that was honestly pretty close to how he fucking showed up. And then there's kind of our take, which is, well, he does have a staff around him and advisors. And I trust that like nobody's just going to do whatever grandpa fucking says. And maybe at some point they'll be like, maybe we'll hide the keys. He'll find them eventually, but we'll just take the keys up. Which I don't fucking like that, but I like that better than the obvious belligerent stance that Trump has. And if you're going to make me choose between these two, I guess that's better by a degree or two.
Yeah, I I have some comments, but I think are you going to play the press secretary, aren't you?
That's way later. Are you talking about the questions she got?
Yeah.
That's in the best of the left. Should I play it now? You know what? We can play it now. They'll just won't be anything in the second half. So do you want the one where he's asked about dementia or Alzheimer's, or do you want the one about a neuro exam?
The neuro exam.
Okay, I'll play that one. We'll play the dementia one later. Oh, that's Kamala being cringy as fuck. Oh my God, I can't wait to play that one. Neuro exam.
Present.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, your plumbing keeps making an appearance.
I know.
After the debate, did the president get examined by a doctor, or did he get?
She has really nice hair.
She does.
A neurological scan.
A neurological scan. Look,
dude, can they just have a fucking deal that they don't have deliveries in the middle of the press briefings? Listen to this truck backing up the whole fucking time.
Yeah, but that's just like being in New York.
What I can say,
White House Alan,
is that just to take a step back, it was a bad night. We understand that it was a bad night.
In context of that, like, yeah, sure. Grandpa is usually good at graduations, birthdays, Christmas, and it's nice. Yeah. And I understand he was coming off of a cold. I feel like we didn't hear that until halfway through the debate. I feel like me and you would have said that at some point.
No,
and it's kind of weird they didn't say that going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was coming off a cold.
And the president has spoken to this. And he understands that.
You might think the truck's done backing up. He's just straightening out. He's about to back up again.
And so I cannot speak to anything beyond what I just shared. The president has regular annual physicals that we release in a thorough report. We're going to continue to do that. I don't have anything else beyond that.
So was the last time he was seen by a doctor then in February?
I just don't have anything beyond that, beyond the question of a neurological exam.
Okay, well, you continue to say it was just a bad night, but is there an explanation then for why it was so bad? If it's not his stamina?
Well, I just saw the time. It's 9:11. Make a wish.
If he prepared, as you guys say, for so long, if it's not a problem with his mental fitness, what happened that night? What did we see?
I will also add that the president also spoke to this as well. He said, I'm not as smooth as I used to be. I don't debate as well as I used to. I don't walk as easily as I used to. But one thing that he knows is how to deliver for the American people. He understands that. He understands that he's not a young man, obviously. He said this. But his focus is going to continue to deliver for the American people on the issues that they care about: the economy, expanding health care, fighting for Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, making sure that we continue to be leaders on the world stage, which is something that this president has been able.
Pause it.
Okay. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, so I mean, I have a couple of thoughts here. I think that the structure of this debate specifically was bad for Biden. And so yeah, it was a bad night for sure. And she acknowledged that, he's acknowledged that. If you watch his rally the next day, he
North Carolina.
He seems
Take
like
your shirt off.
Yeah,
I have that.
Okay, he seems like a different guy. But I think there's reasons for that. The obvious one is
B12 shots.
The obvious one is he has a teleprompter. And the second thing, which I actually thought would be more of a liability for Trump going into this debate,
was the mute button.
No, it was the lack of an audience. So when he's talking at a rally, the crowd at a rally, the crowd will interrupt with cheers or applause, whatever, right? And as a speaker, that gives you a couple of seconds to sort of gather your thoughts, look at the teleprompter, see what you're going to say next. It gives you a pause. When you don't have the teleprompter and you don't have the crowd interrupting what you're saying, you just have to go from the top of your head. I think he was over prepared by his staff.
Who?
I think Biden
Trump?
was over.
Oh, Biden.
Biden was.
Well, yeah, they were pissed at him for not saying his canned responses for things.
I think
like
that
the
was
age question. He didn't say his age question response. With the age question, they asked him a question about his age, and that's when they started arguing about golf. Like he had the chance to do the Mondale. He could have said, "Well, I'm not going to hold my age, the age of my opponent against him," and he could have dunked on him with the Mondale line. Everybody would have been like, "Holy shit, he quoted Reagan."
Even after the tragic abortion take, when he starts talking about rape and people being raped by their brothers and their sisters,
I got that.
Okay, I feel like that had to be some sort of talking point where his staff was like, okay, Trump's
Whatever
gonna
you
say,
do, don't say they're raped by their sisters.
well, Trump's going to say this, you need to respond to it. And for whatever reason, that was bouncing around his head. And so when he got to that response, he's like, oh, I got to fit this in there. You know what I mean? So I think there was, if he had given himself a few more seconds to pause and think, and if he wasn't so overprepared, I think he could have been better. He could have come off more like the debate. But it's past his bedtime. There's no teleprompter. There's no crowd, and he's overprepared. I think all of those things. Plus, he's fucking old. Be honest about that as well.
So Democrats got to make a decision.
Yep.
But really the decision comes down to Joe because he has promised delegates.
Yes.
So they can't kick him out. He has to say, I won't be the person those delegates can give their votes to. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But apparently the only people he'll listen to are his caretaker wife and his drug addicted son. And they went to Camp David and came away with, he's not going to leave. What, isn't there tape of him in 2020 saying, yeah, I'm old, but if I think I can't do this, I'll step down. And now we're finding out that there's basically two people that are going to tell him whether he should do this or not.
Well, he always said that he would be like the bridge to the next generation. He didn't say he wasn't going
to don't. I got a whole thing about comparing him to Macron. Do you want to do that?
Okay.
I'll wait. I will wait.
Okay. All right. Hold on. So I think there are probably two people who could influence him. And I don't think Jill is definitely one of them. I think Obama might be the second one.
No, he resents Obama for convincing him not to run in 2016. I disagree with you strongly. I do not think he puts a lot of weight into Obama's advice.
I don't know. I think if Obama,
he wouldn't be here if it weren't for Obama. I still remember my grandma, who's I have her pussy hat up in the attic in storage. Like she's the most liberal person I've ever met in my life. Mm-hmm. And when my grandma was in the hospital at the time, and I was like, I told her, it was like, it's going to be Joe Biden in 2008. I was like, it's going to be Joe Biden as vice president. And she's like, Joe Biden. And I was like,
So here's the thing. So
Obama became his vice president.
Yeah. I think everybody else in the Democratic Party has an incentive not to alienate him or the Democratic base.
So there's a weird thing going on where there's a lot of people that are ready to step up and take the mantle, but they can't look too eager.
Right.
But they also have to be ready to go should he decide not to come the convention time.
But we're pretty late in the game.
You know what? It's not. I keep remembering the whole hypothetical Democrat getting like 60% in polls.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the guy that doesn't stand in the debate in the split screen like this might not be as good as hypothetical Democrat, even when that actually becomes like Gavin Newsom.
So it's possible. So
can you remember what you're going to say? I want to play this.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So here's a fair assessment. Slickett sent this in. I think this is a fair assessment. This was shortly after the debate. I liked this at the time. I think it still holds up.
Look, all we have is the truth. That's what our side has. We keep talking about Donald Trump lies and lies and lies. And if the truth be told, I do not believe that Joe Biden, a great man, a hero, he's 10 times the man Donald Trump is. I don't believe he's our best choice at this point. It's all on the line. Democracy is on the line. Who we are is on the line. A woman's right to choose her body is on the line. Our ability to vote freely is on the line. Joe Biden is an American hero. I believe Joe Biden will do the right thing. If you're saying to me, how do you solve this problem? It just pains me, but I don't believe he's the right man right now. And I don't know what you do to turn that around. We always talk about a referendum. If it's a referendum on the incumbent, you lose. From here on in, the referendum, unfortunately, is not going to be on Donald Trump's lies. It's going to be on Joe Biden's age and Joe Biden's.
Which is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It shouldn't be the choice between a fucking liar who is just like blatantly saying what pockets of people want to hear so they can glom together enough to hopefully win in an electoral competition.
Right.
Versus someone that people might not vote for because he's too fucking old to do it, but otherwise might be just fine. Right?
Yes. That pretty well.
It's stupid. This fucking stupid.
It is. It does feel a little absurd at this point, especially
it's a Coen Brothers movie,
especially when we get to the golf argument. But it's just, I think that was a nice little sort of encapsulates the absurdity of this politically.
I have one more clip. I have a couple of clips actually before the golf.
Okay, all right.
Going a while on this. So this is why I wasn't sure how long the show would be, and the second half is so short. Like I said, this is a thick first half.
Just the way your mother likes it, Trebek.
Look, man, I have a dark sense of humor.
Yeah.
That debate made me feel sad. Like almost everyone I work with is a Trump supporter. And even they weren't like dunking on him the next day.
Yeah, it was just
at times Trump wasn't. Trump was like, I can't look this bad. They'll call me mean.
Yeah. No, it was rough. It was rough.
If you took Trump off of that stage, would Biden have looked that bad? Like if it wasn't the contrast of vitality of that age with this whole open mouth. Like we went from Vice President Pence having a fly in his hair to Biden out there catching flies in his mouth.
I think regardless of who is debate.
Did he not know about the split screen? I know I said that already, but come on. Like the dynamic, if it wasn't a split screen image of the two, it wouldn't have looked half as bad.
Yeah. No, him standing there mouth agape, just sort of looking like he wasn't exactly sure where he was a little concerning. Yes.
Yeah. So that last guy giving his assessment on what Joe should do. This guy, here's sort of a counterbalance to that. So this is a historian who, according to the chyron on the screen, a historian who correctly predicts U.S. elections. Alan Lichtman, barely knew him.
Oh, I don't like this guy.
You don't?
No, he spells his name the same way as me, and I don't. He's kind of
holy shit. That's how you spell Alan.
I don't like his vibe, man.
Well, I wonder what you're going to think of this.
All of these pundits and pollsters and analysts that you see.
You watch a lot of cable news.
Oh, I saw this live.
I've never seen this guy before in my life. I fucking love we do a show together. Like, we really balance each other out well.
On all the cable channels and all the networks have no track record in predicting elections. And yet they come on and they claim they know how this debate is going to affect the outcome of elections. They have no idea. It's sports talk radio. It may be entertaining, but it has no scientific basis.
So what is the impact, do you think?
Pause it for a second.
Yeah.
Do you
Zero.
Can you pause it for a second?
Yeah.
Do you get the like all these people, they say, they can predict what's going to happen, but I have a spreadsheet and I've been doing crunching numbers for
he basically said I've always been right, so why are you listening to them?
Yes.
Well, I don't know, like isn't that like scoreboard? Like
but it's just
he's like, I'm literally not wrong. So why would you listen to these guys that go on and treat it like sports talk radio?
Yeah, I suppose it's fair.
Debates are not predictive of outcomes. Hillary Clinton won all 3 debates, still lost. John Kerry won all the debates, still lost. Barack Obama got trounced, 72 to 20% in the poll, worse than Biden, and went on to win. That's why we rely on the 13 keys which tap into the structure of how elections really work. And they
now he sounds like a guy with a roulette system.
Show that Democrats really only chance to win.
Here's his 13 keys: party mandate, contest, incumbency, third party, short-term economy, long-term economy, policy change, social unrest, scandal, foreign military failure, foreign military success, incumbent charisma, challenger charisma. Dude, this guy's living in the past. None of that shit matters anymore because every single one of those things is muddled based off of where you land in the culture wars.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear the rest of them.
Contrary to everything you've heard, is with Biden running. Look at the incumbency key. Biden checks that off. The contest key, he checks that off. He was uncontested. It takes 6 keys.
So he's the incumbent, so he gets a point there. Sure, I guess by nature of not the president at the time, he gets the obvious one. Non-contested is because everybody's too terrified. There wasn't a contest. Any people that dared put their hat in the ring was a fucking joke. There was that ice cream magnate from Vermont that hired a magician to make a deep fake and tell people not to vote. You calling this fair? And then the other Democratic candidate was brainworms who switched parties so that he could keep running. So you're lying. Like, that's muddled, right? Foreign military failure, that's muddled with Trump. Afghanistan, right?
Yes.
Or just look at Israel, like that's muddled based on who you are within the party. Foreign military success, see Israel. Incumbent charisma doesn't got that. Challenger charisma loses there. Social unrest depends where you are in the culture war. I feel like it sucks right now in a lot of ways, but I don't blame Biden for it. Scandal, his son's a drug addict. They're saying that immigration is bad. They can manufacture a scandal. Does he have a party mandate? I guess. Like he's not a third party. I guess that's one of the ones that we could give him a box for. He's got 3 out of these so far. Short and long-term economy depends on where you are in the culture war. None of these add up unless you want them to.
I would agree with that.
To count out the White House party.
But you know,
that means
Alan,
of the remaining 11 keys, 6 would have to fall. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Biden doesn't run. They lose the contest key. They lose the incumbency, and only 4 more keys would have to fall.
He totally sounds like someone who's like, I got a system. This is how you beat roulette. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. Fuck that guy. For a second, that guy was like, maybe they shouldn't change him. Look, man. I'm really grateful to be an independent right now. This would be harder for me to say if I was a partisan. I don't know if they should change candidates. I don't know. It would be a huge, huge risk. And the risk reward part of this is scary, right? And Democrats tend to be cautious. Let me say that in a way I would agree with. Democrats tend to steer away from electoral decisions that scare them. See Hillary Clinton in 2016, right? They're like, she's the most qualified candidate ever. I hear people talk about Joe Biden saying like, he's been a career politician for 50 years. Like, that's a fucking good thing. The same way they talked about Hillary being the most qualified person. It's like, well, it helps when you're the first lady to become a senator. And then once you're the senator that happens to have been the first lady, maybe you'll get Secretary of State. And then you got a resume. It's like, nobody fucking likes you. Sorry, you lost a popularity contest at the end of the day. Your resume doesn't mean dick. 50 years of politics in an era where the other candidate is literally an outsider. Even his time in office, you can still call him an outsider. That doesn't mean shit. And Democrats are fucking blind to it. So it doesn't surprise me that they might be too hesitant to do it, but I'm getting myself all worked up and I'll fucking say it. They need to get rid of Biden. I think they need to get rid of Biden. I was going to present the rest of this as if they do it. I wonder who they'll do. They need to do it. I've convinced myself. They need to get rid of him. What do you think?
Well, I also am torn.
However, Natalie Imbruglia.
Yes. However, I like math. And so if we're going to put this into a math problem,
I'll give you.
So if you believe, as I think many Democrats do, that this is an important election. I mean, there's a spectrum there, but some people think it's existential for democracy. Others are on a different side of the spectrum.
You're being very kind. I think this is a pretty important election.
I think it is too. I think it is too. So if you believe anywhere close to that, right, that this is the be all end all.
The only people that don't think that are people who are like, politics is confusing. I barely pay attention.
Right. No, I'm somewhere on that spectrum as well. I'm not the kind of person that wants to say the sky is falling.
Yeah, you don't want to be Chicken Little or too hyperbolic. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I think this one matters. So if you believe that, that's the first part of the equation, right? So you believe this is important. So then you have to ask yourself, the question, which is, do you believe that the Biden that you saw, and it doesn't have to be just that microcosm of the debate, the Biden that we've seen over the last, say, year, the Biden who hasn't done interviews, didn't do the Super Bowl interview, has had very little access to media. He hasn't done an interview with the New York Times, the Washington Post. He hasn't done any long form interviews. You could go on Lex Friedman, things like that. So consider all of that, his track record over the year. Now, you could also look at his policy wins, and you could say, yeah, he's done some good things. And so you can balance that. But do you believe that guy can beat Trump in the world that we live in? Or do you think it's more likely that if you replaced him with, a Whitmer or a
Gavin Newsom
or a Newsom, I think Newsom has a lot of liabilities. But
I actually say what you're going to say. I will present to you my case for Gavin Newsom.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So do you believe that generic Democrat, as you said earlier,
hypothetical Democrat, it was a poll 6 months ago where it was like Biden's polling at like 18% in swing states, but hypothetical Democrat wins in a landslide.
Right. So just do the math. And so then it comes down to, well, if you believe that the likelihood is greater that somebody else could win other than Biden, then why aren't you switching them out?
Mm-hmm. It's because Democrats are adverse to risk
or confrontation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing in business, right? It's like nobody likes to have a confrontational moment with somebody, but
it's risk reward, and they're like, I don't think the reward's going to pay off because status quo feels good.
Yeah, but if you actually want to be do
you like winning? It's like a comic that's been doing the same act. It's like, well, I can keep getting booked in Omaha. Why would I change my act? It's like, nope. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do the hard thing, the uncomfortable thing. Yeah. And if you really, you believe that the election is existential or somewhere near that.
Uh-huh.
B, you believe that the odds are that somebody other than Biden has a greater chance to beat Trump. Then what's
stopping?
There's really nothing else.
Literally,
to say after that.
You have a mental block preventing you from doing this, right? You grow a fucking pair.
Right.
You're saying this shit matters. Prove it.
Yeah.
But the problem is the only way it's going to happen is if he steps down. Let me play a clip of Gavin Newsom. This was going around the night of the debate. I sent it to you, and you're like, "That's not going to do enough damage control, Gavin." I'm not playing this in terms of damage control.
Okay.
Can't share my screen. An error occurred, Alan.
Oh no.
Okay, everything's good. Oh, I was already sharing.
Out there getting a chorus of questions about whether Biden should step down. There is panic that has set in. There is panic that has set in among people who have watched this debate, who are Democrats, people who are strategists, and some even inside Democratic campaigns.
What does Tim call him? All Bruce, no bat?
Yes.
God, he looks like Bruce Wayne every time I see him.
He does.
Do you think it's unfounded?
Well, I think it's unhelpful, and I think it's unnecessary. We've got to go in and got to keep our heads high. And as I say, we've got to have the back of this president. You don't turn your back because of one performance. What kind of party does that? It's been a masterclass. 15.6 million jobs. That's 8 times more than the last 3 Republican presidents combined. The only thing the last 3 Republican presidents have in common is recessions. Democrats deliver. This president has delivered. We need to deliver for him at this moment. With all due,
he's almost saying all the things that Joe Biden should have said in the debate when asked similar questions.
Yeah.
I thought this was someone doing, "Hi, I could have answered these questions. Have you looked over here?" without saying it while kissing ass. Fucking master. You want to talk about a master class, Gavin? This is a master class on how to be a slicky boy politician.
He's good at it.
Having these conversations go down these rabbit holes is unhelpful to our democracy, our fate and future of this country, the world. They need us right now to step up. And that's exactly what I intend to do.
Oh, that's what he intends to do, Alan. What's he mean by that?
He's going to step up for Biden
and protect Biden, or take his place should he be ready.
I mean, in that clip, it sounded like he was going to protect Biden.
So I kind of told you what I'm about to do, and I'm ready to do it.
Okay, do it.
What are the Democrats missing right now? Like from an aesthetic standpoint, what's missing presidentially for the Democrats? What's one word you think of that Biden lacks?
Youth, leadership, vision. No, youth.
How many words would it take you to get to charisma? Maybe
charisma.
3 or
Okay,
4
sure.
more.
Yeah, probably.
I'm aware of where this falls in the dictatorship category of leaders.
Mm-hmm.
We need a charismatic leader. We need a good one, but we need a charismatic leader. And I don't think it's going to shock any of our listeners that I don't want Trump's version of that.
Yeah.
I don't like Gavin Newsom. In fact, I moved out of his state largely because I felt like I lacked a hopeful future under the world that was existing there. But it's the number 6 economy in the world. Almost said the nation, in the world. And if we're being fair, he never gave California anything that Californians didn't ask for. He's a fucking slicky boy. And all he's ever done is modify his politics to deliver to Californians what Californians wanted. Gay marriage, climate, tax the fuck out of you because you like it. Like all the things Californians love. He said, you like this? I will be that politician for you. I cannot imagine him running on the national level without modifying that to what the nation is asking for. I can't. I cannot. The slicky, charismatic type of and manipulative type of politician that he is, I cannot imagine him going to a different venue and attempting to be the same politician. Does that make sense? Can you say that otherwise before I move on?
No, I think you said it actually pretty well. Move on.
So what I think Obama probably grasps and what other people miss is that, because Obama had a whole thing after this saying like, Joe Biden's been counted out before and he's always come back. And, well, I've had a bad debate, blah, blah, blah. You just saw, maybe you read the memo that that Obama put out.
I did.
What Obama probably grasps and that others are missing is that what replacing Biden in these circumstances for this reason would mean is that he's the president. Like, if he cannot exercise the duties of a candidate, he can't exercise those of being the president. So, like, put it this way. Imagine the attention that you would see. How does Trump run a campaign? Attention. He understands the attention economy better than anyone else.
Yep.
He will steal the air out of the room, whether it's leveraging his lawsuits, like being like, well, this will help me get black votes, racist. Like, do we even have a clip of him? We do.
He is the ultimate all press is good press, right? Like
right.
He just wants to be in the media.
And if you pound the table loud enough, it doesn't matter what the other guys are saying, right? Yeah. So imagine the attention you would steal from Trump by having an open convention.
Yeah.
Imagine all of the eyeballs of the political world watching you actually pick a candidate while everyone's begging you to actually have a candidate we can like. The attention that you can't, the Biden campaign can raise all the fucking money in the world. First of all, they wouldn't know how to fucking do with it because they keep spending their ad buys on people that are already Democrats. They're like, well, should target some ads to the Democrats. It's like, they're already voting for you because they hate Trump. Like, you got to find the double haters and target them, but they're not smart enough to do that.
Just real quick.
You could not buy the attention that you would get from having an open convention.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm reminded of, I think it was the 1960 Democratic Convention. It was Kennedy and Johnson were the leading candidates. And and Johnson
he brought Johnson in after, yeah.
Johnson spoke first, and he was very he didn't have the charisma that you're talking about.
He wasn't walking around with his dick out like he did in the White House.
Right. Like, and Kennedy clearly had the riz, right?
Yeah.
And so he speaks after Kennedy or after Johnson, and he says something like, I absolutely support Johnson. I have a really warm spot in my heart for him, which is why I absolutely support him being the Senate Majority Leader when I am the president. And everybody laughed, and it was just like, okay, this is the guy.
Yeah.
So if we could have that kind of moment, whoever
and imagine
that takes
like
that mantle, like that would be amazing.
Gavin and the people that Donnie Deutsch that was on earlier saying that, Biden's the greatest president ever. Like all those people, imagine what they would say about Biden in the history books if he knew to step down right now.
Yeah.
Imagine the way he'd get remembered if he recognized this moment and gave the opportunity. Because the Democrats have a deep fucking bench, but it won't matter in 2028 if Trump wins in 2024.
There won't. Yeah. Yes.
So in a sense, this feels reminiscent to 2016, like I was saying before, where they trotted out people with impressive resumes and talked about Biden with his 50 years of experience. It doesn't fucking matter. Like they want someone who's, new, fresh.
Yeah.
I still say, go with a hypothetical Democrat. It's on paper. It's like 60% will vote for a hypothetical Democrat. If you lose 5%, because it's like a real person, they don't like him. Who the fuck cares? That's a landslide. 55%.
Yeah,
We're
especially in
winning
swing states.
50 to 49 right now.
Yeah.
Like we're dropping 1%. I mean, and you got to deal with Kennedy, right?
RFK, yeah.
Which Kennedy did you think I was fucking talking about?
Well, because I was still thinking about 60.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can I talk about Biden and Macron similarities?
Sure.
This is my next rant.
Okay.
So have you ever, I got this from the Reason Roundtable. They do deserve credit for this. Have you ever noticed the similarities between Macron and Joe Biden? I'm about to blow your fucking mind.
I don't think Biden dissolved Parliament and then had a re-election where he lost like to the far right Marie Le Pen.
He's about
party.
to, Alan. He's about to. You're
You
jumping
know what?
in. So
okay.
When did Macron jump in? So what was Macron's career before he became the whatever they call the president in France? Banging that school teacher, banging his former teacher. Like he was a political outsider, but he wasn't
an MP? I don't remember.
Maybe he was an MP. He was basically the embodiment of a centrist. He you can call it Macronism, his version of French centrism that pisses off everybody on each side, but was slotted in as a placeholder because what was happening, Marine Le Pen was rallying the right, and the centrists and the people on the left were terrified of the right, and they were like, okay, we can all get behind the centrist as a placeholder so that we can block the far right from taking over French politics, and he'll just be there as a caretaker long enough for this moment to pass. And in the meantime, they'll figure out how to like stop pissing off the far right so that they can be happy and stop instigating them to become worse. Except they didn't do anything to stop the bad thing. In fact, all the bad things that they were trying to prevent, they probably made worse in the time period that he's been in charge. Does it sound like I'm talking about Joe Biden?
I could see some parallels, sure.
And like when I called Macron a centrist, Joe Biden was the most moderate of the 2020 Democrats. Because you got the Klobuchars and the Andrew Yangs and the universal base income. Yeah.
UBI. Yeah.
Like, but what's Biden's problem? He might have been the most moderate, but he was still big government like liberalism. It's the exact same thing. He was the placeholder and the caretaker to get through the Trump moment. And in the meantime, everything got worse and it kept instigating everybody on the right even more. He needs to step out of the way. The Democrats have a very deep bench and they need to take advantage of that. If this was a basketball team, you'd be like, you need to sit that guy and put in somebody off the bench.
Well, so the convention is August 27th. I want to say it's late August.
That's plenty of time. Republicans are in a week from tomorrow, I think.
July 11th, something like that. There is a meeting of the delegates before the convention in early August, like August 7th or something like that, wherein if Trump did, if Biden did decide to step aside, they could come together and kind of try to make some plans for what to do with the convention. So I mean, it's
totally doable.
Possible. It's possible.
No, it's completely on the table, and anybody that tells you isn't is just too scared. Like, grow a fucking pair, man. Like, this isn't like Cronkite. No, who was it that would come on TV and said, "And remember, if you dig deep in our history and our doctrine, we are not descendants of fearful men." Just when you die, you're gonna have to look at your ancestors in the face and tell them you were cowards in this moment. You're a political leader. You have an opportunity to fucking do something and you're too scared. Get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah. I mean, as I said earlier, if you do the math the way I laid it out, there's no other. I mean, that if you believe all of those things,
and you're very logical. You're right.
If you believe all those things, that's the moment. That's the correct decision. If you believe
like a sober analysis of the moment we're in between my emotional response and your mathematical assessment of it tells you that the right thing to do is to step out of the way, Joe. But he's too busy talking to his drug addict son. Oh, I just bought a gun. I was smoking crack.
I don't know if that's the reason.
He went to Camp David and came away saying that I'm still going to run.
Yeah.
Who was in Camp David? His family.
family.
Okay. All right. And
I don't know if Hunter is
chocolate chip. I'm pretty sure. No, Hunter was a part of it.
Well, he was there. I'm not saying. I think
I've heard that he is on the list of people that he takes advice from, and the reason I keep saying that is it's very frustrating. It's frustrating that let me erase my own mind there. It's very frustrating that we have this whole fucking system and we complain about Trump being a dictator, and then at the end of the day, we have a small group of people that are telling this man whether he should run or not, and it's the same fucking problem. All right. Here's Biden after he took his B12 shot. He went down to...
No, it's just a different environment.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't have a cold the next day.
Well, I know. I don't.
Sounds like they're saying Trump. I think they're saying Joe.
Folks, I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to.
By the way, this is the good tape.
I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth.
All right.
But see, again, to my point there is the audience, the teleprompter and the audience gives him space.
Yeah. And I mean, what did I say during the debate? I was like, this sounds like a 90-year-old with a stutter.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it gives him space. Plus he gets the energy from the audience. He feels, it gives him some dopamine. Yeah, it's just, that environment was tragically terrible for him.
So we've spent a long time on this show criticizing Joe Biden, and he deserves it. And in a way, I'm pissed about this because Trump didn't do a good job.
Oh, he was awful.
He just lied, and he speaks the way Trump does, where it's like, I'm the best, just hyperbole, like extreme hyperbole.
We had the best H2O.
Right. Yeah, yes. He did. He said it was pristine. I want pristine, clear water. And to get that, I want to undermine every agency that has the ability to say so about how that happens. It's clear cut and logical. All right. So
he says I had the best environmental numbers I know because my staff just told me before I walked on stage. The crazy part was the moderators aren't even like, what are you like? What numbers are you talking about?
If it was CNN, why did you not there was nothing of the bias of the network that showed up.
There was zero pushback.
I saw somebody who didn't watch the debate. Some of these people are really getting on my fucking nerves. Oh, I don't know. I don't have time to care about politics. But somebody didn't watch the debate was like 2 or 3 days later was like, I heard one of the moderators is a former, her husband is a former CIA operative. So it might've been a psyop. I'm like, for what? Like, I'm pretty sure the CIA wasn't there to undermine Joe Biden, if that's what you're trying to say. Like, she fucked up if she was. Anyway, one of my favorite lines of the debate was when Trump said black jobs. I think we paused it. We're like, what the fuck is a black job? I have an answer for that. Black jobs is when you hire a medical doctor and put him in charge of housing and urban development, which largely is something that oversees black communities, because you're a fucking racist. At me. I'm the one that runs an untaken account. If you think that I'm full of shit for saying Trump's racist for putting a black doctor not as the Surgeon General, I think he's a heart surgeon, wasn't he? Cardiac surgeon, something like that.
Yeah, I think there's lots of other examples.
Well, this guy could. You know what? We should put him over where black people live. I mean, poor people. Although Biden was the one that said poor kids are just as good, black kids are just as good as rich kids, or whatever he said. Right.
I mean, I think there's lots of other instances of obvious racism you could point to.
But if you're going to say black jobs, I think black jobs is when you take a doctor and put him in charge of HUD.
Another comment that the former president made when he was asked what he'd say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far. The campaign's clearly made this a focus. They believe they've made some inroads. Polling seems to back that up. Take a listen.
The millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border.
Joe, with his fucking mouth open.
They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs.
There are issues there in the sense that black unemployment right now is the lowest that it's been in history.
Like, if he said white jobs, we would be right to call him racist. Yes. But since he said black jobs, we're like, oh, it's awkward to call him racist. No, it's racist. It's
racist. There are certainly
literally by definition racist.
Yes. Economic concerns the black community, while not a monolith, may have. But I guess my question.
Why is he talking like a fucking nerd? It is, by definition, racist. It is racist. You are using race and talking about jobs that a race has. That is racist. Like, if you said white jobs, we'd be like, oh, that's punching up. We can call him out on it. But instead, they're like, oh, well, if I said black jobs, I'd have to list those out and I'd look bad.
Question for you is, do you know what a black job is?
Well, I know what he was talking about. He's talking about people at the lower end of the economic scale, and that those frequently
I fall asleep when I listen to Ben Carson talk. I'm not going to play the rest of it.
I think my comment during the debate was, are immigrants coming for Neil deGrasse Tyson's job?
Yeah. I should at least be able to run that planetarium. What does he know about that? I can host a planetarium. Yeah. Regarding the race question, when that was brought up, the question that spurred that answer, Trump had a golden opportunity to be an actual conservative, but we don't have a conservative in this race. Like, he gave a using the parlance of our times, he gave a liberal answer. He said something like, "Oh, I'll get more jobs for these people. I'm out here getting more jobs and blah blah blah, and I will make sure blah." And it was like not my answer. The conservative answer to that is, it's ridiculous that you would even frame it that way. I want equal opportunity, not equality of outcome, like my opponent tries to get, right? They talk about equity. I want equality of opportunity. That's a conservative answer. That would have like, people would have been standing up cheering if somebody said something like that. People on the right would have been. But no, Trump's just like, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. DeSantis would have demolished that, and Biden got lucky. And he didn't know what to do with it. Just ate flies with his mouth open.
To be fair, DeSantis would have been eating pudding with his fingers also. But
dude, this whole debate should be DeSantis versus Newsom.
Oh, that would have been fun.
It honestly is what we deserve. And as bad as it could have been under DeSantis, it would still be better than.
Well, they did it, right? They did it by it once.
I'm talking about to be president.
I know.
Sorry. I'm projecting my anger onto one of my very best friends in the whole world. Sorry for calling you a dickhead.
It's fine.
I'm not still upset about you being 20 minutes late today. You don't even have a job. How are you late?
I was taking care of business.
Okay, fine.
Yes. I was a businessman doing business things.
Okay. I'm eager about the job.
It was economically related.
Okay. Oh, Alan was doing a drug deal. He doesn't want to say anything. Let me play China Dawn. This clip China I called China Dawn. What's this? Oh, this is unrelated to the debate. All right. Well,
Democrats on this committee publicly released.
This is Crockett, that lady we like so bad.
These financial documents detailing how Trump received over $5.5 million from the Chinese government. Not only that, these records also showed how President Trump and his White House senior advisor daughter, Ivanka, received hundreds of trademarks by the PRC during that time. So I'm going to skip to this timeline because I want to make sure we cover this. ZTE is a China telecommunications company, which has had extremely close ties to the Chinese government, including reports showing ZTE employees entering and exiting Chinese spy facilities.
So keep in mind, she's about to present a whole bunch of evidence. I will present to you the comment section after she's done actually presenting evidence.
Okay.
Fortunately, what we saw when we look at this timeline is that in May of 2018, China approved Ivanka's trademarks for bath mats, textiles, and baby blankets. May 7th, 2018, China approved 5 additional trademarks. May 13th, 2018, President Trump's tweets, he's instructed the Commerce Department to reverse its decision to sanction ZTE. June 7, 2018, Ivanka's company gets 3 more provisional Chinese trademark approvals the same day the Trump administration officially announces an agreement to lift the sanctions on a 7-year.
Gentlelady's time's expired.
All right, we're good there. Doesn't matter. She's talking about the Commerce Department. Project 2025 is going to gut the Commerce Department, so no worries there.
Yeah. Also, now that he has, absolute immunity for any official acts, he can even make more money off the presidency.
Oh my God, that's true.
Good
Yeah.
times.
How does that match with the emoluments clause? But you know what? Why even say all these facts? Because let's go to UpsCrash1 on Instagram. Stop lying. Fuck, you got us.
Oh, wow.
You got us.
Facts, bro. Facts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, like Biden doesn't have skeletons in his closets. Buying off Ukrainian. They got us. Never mind. Why would we listen to that lady?
Why?
Yeah, it's a waste of time. Yeah. If Biden was bad on tariffs, especially China, Joe sucks for not repealing my tariffs. Remember that in the debate?
Oh yeah.
Don was like, Biden was bad on tariffs, especially China, and if he would have repealed my tariffs, like what? What are you fucking saying? Same with his tax cuts.
You left your tariffs in place, and
Yeah.
now you're
All right, so now the thrilling conclusion of the debate that we've all been waiting for.
yes.
This feels like a long show because we haven't had the half where it was supposed to be, but there was no. I mean, I could have split this and put it in the culture war. It's fine. People pause this show when
you can pause. You got the pause button.
This was by far the part of the debate that we all deserve because we got what we fucking deserve by electing clowns.
Senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. It's not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way.
He won 2 club championships, not even senior, Alan.
And I do it. He doesn't.
You have to be smart. You actually really have to be smart, like John Daly, right? Like you can't just be drunk and roll out of a car.
And I do
wonder
it.
if he owned the clubs that he won the club championship. That'd be weird.
Oh, that'd
be
awkward.
really weird. Yeah.
Remember when we would like criticize presidents for spending too much time playing golf?
Yeah.
And then Trump was president and owned golf courses. And then like they tried to trot that out about Biden. They were like, Biden's down in Bermuda playing golf. It's like, will you shut the fuck up? Like we don't care about that anymore. I thought we did, but we don't anymore. And then they won a debate by arguing about golf.
Able to hit the ball a long way, and I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in. It's not even senior. 2 regular club.
Dude, I don't even have it. So then Biden challenges him to a golf tournament. Says if you carry your own bags, and then it didn't land because he's the dog in Up. This was the result of the question asking about age. And like I said, he could have just quoted Reagan at Mondale and got a dunk. And instead he took Trump's bait and it's like, I had a 6 handicap when I was vice president. Okay, it's 8 now. And the whole time that was, by the way, that was the only time in the debate where Trump finally disobeyed the mute button. The whole debate. He was like, okay, I've got a mute button. I'm not going to talk over it. I'd look foolish. I don't want to be absurd. But Joe Biden's lying about his golf game. I'm sure that he fucking hears me. Like, I just tried to mute myself. But hold on. Let me do that the way I intended it. It's this knob here. I'm going to talk over this mute button. You can't be lying about this golf game. You say, like that was what finally got him riled up enough to like talk. The one thing that not when Trump, there was a point when Biden accused Trump of having a bad economy and said that it had nothing to do with COVID. I think it's your responsibility as a president to not have the maximum effect of a pandemic. I think it's a little disingenuous for Biden to say that it was Trump's fault, but I do blame Trump. I blame Trump for fighting with, Powell to not raise rates in 2018 and 2019, but I don't know how you get that into the 1 minute response. But none of that pissed Trump off. But once Biden started lying about his golf game, he's like, fuck this mute button. I'm talking to this guy.
You know what? I can only imagine, like, we got a little bit of Thrash's perspective after the debate.
Yeah, we were like, what do you think kids are going to say? He's like, no, nobody I know is watching this.
Right. But I can only imagine if you were watching, if you were maybe slightly politically inclined as a, 18 to 24-year-old, and you watch that and you're just like, why the fuck should this is a train wreck? This is absurd. This is a clown car. Why would I ever be politically involved?
And then that fucking happens.
It's just like, what? You want to ask why people aren't engaged politically? I mean, there you go. Exhibit
because
A.
2 people are fighting over being the leader of the free world, and they start the
Talking
thing
about their
that
golf
gets them riled
handicap.
up is arguing about golf.
Yeah.
An elitist fucking sport played on a giant fucking lawn where, like, I don't know, 100 houses could probably be. And they're like, I can't afford to live, but these rich fucks go pay $99 to golf with their buddies 5 times
cheap,
a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I wouldn't have been surprised if the subject of a stroke came up in this debate, but this was not the manner that I thought it was going to happen.
Nice.
Thank you. I've tried to figure out how to say that. And also, I will say this, George W. Bush would still outdrive both of them right now.
Oh, yeah. I agree
Remember,
with
he's like, we're gonna kill all them terrorists. Now watch this drive.
You'd have to pull him away from his paintbrush, though.
Oh yeah, he's painting elephants and stuff like that. Let's do a final sound on the subject of the elections, and then we'll go to half with one more final sound for the half, shall we?
Yes, let's.
Washington has become a cross between the land of the dead and the Golden Girls. Quite frankly, this is fucking ridiculous. And if I sound ageist, I am. And you know who else is ageist? Biology.
And fucking time.
Galileo's got some good ones.
He is. Yeah. Here's where it is. I knew I had the Hawk 2 girl in here somewhere. Thank God. Nobody has to hear the Hawk 2 sound one more time. Let's mute that. Okay. So, yes, she signed to a talent agency. This is going to be our sound going to half. It is tangentially related to the debates and the elections because I've seen this clip edited so that it showed her answer say the opposite of which. And I was just like, well, let me play it. So she signed with a talent agency and now she's getting paid to go on podcasts and stuff. Mm-hmm. The host of this podcast doesn't deserve her audience because the game should be called Hawk or Knock. But she goes, Hawk 2.
It's about Donald Trump in her first ever interview. During a game segment on the Plan Bree Uncut podcast, Mrs. Hawk, real name Haley Welsh, came out against Donald Trump, sharing her
Mrs. Tua?
Yeah, that would be
disgust about the convicted former president.
I have a game that I want to play with you guys.
That makes me nervous.
It's not that scary, I promise. It's called Hawk Tua or Nah.
Dude, that's so fucking annoying. That drives me fucking crazy. Hawk Tua or Nah. No, Hawk or Knock. Like, knock means no, right?
Yes.
Hawk or knock. Like, fucking God. Like, they probably have producers that get paid $100,000. Like, and here we are doing our show for fucking free. Essentially, we love everybody that's on the Patreon, but
yes,
we love us into an account that neither of us have ever touched because we just pretend it doesn't exist.
Yes.
Thank you for supporting the show. Someday we are going to do it. We don't even live off that. We don't like go eat food off that. Someday we're going to do something with the money that goes into that account. Until then, I just don't think about it. Anyways,
let it be.
Makes me so fucking mad. Like, Hawk, Tua, or Nah. That's what you get. This industry drives me fucking crazy. The one good thing is nobody can tell us no. That's the one good thing is that in this game, just nobody can tell you no. You can do whatever the fuck you want. All right.
And you tell me if you want to hook to on that thing or no.
Okay.
I think you might. Are you into like older guys?
For sure.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Donald Trump.
Dude, I've seen big hats. That hat is absurdly big.
No, absolutely not.
Oh,
No. It's a no from me.
Okay, it's no.
Well, I saw an edit where they said Donald Trump, and she goes, yeah. Can you imagine being such a simp for Donald Trump that you're like, nah, we can't let people think the Hawk Tua girl wouldn't suck Donald Trump's pecker, David Pecker.
Let me bust out my Adobe and edit this shit.
God. Like, I have a dumb question I was going to say going into half, but I don't even care to anymore. It's too emotional or whatever. We're good, right?
Yeah, we're good. Let's go to half.
I'll join you back from half.
And don't forget the music.
Oh, my buddy. Well, then if that's the case, I have to be able to pad into it because I don't like dead air going into that.
Oh, yeah, we can't have that.
So I can do this. Okay. The choice in November isn't between Biden and Trump. It's about what kind of country you want it to turn into. Calling it Biden versus Trump oversimplifies it.
Yeah.
This is the B side of our platter, sports fans. And I'm singing just for you, covered in sequins.
In the canyons of your mind, I will wander through your brain to the ventricles of your heart, my dear. I'm in love with you again. Cross the mountains of your chest, I will stick a Union Jack to the forest of your cheek, through the holes in your string band.
Hey, buddy.
And we're back.
We are. Man, I want to play. Man, you guys got to join the Patreon. The intro to the Patreon episode, the audio. So here's what made me think about this. I always take a piss during the half.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to piss before our debate coverage.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Man, Natasha's disgust at the bar. So there was an old thing of Costco pretzels that I never finished because they just got gross.
They got
For
stale.
some reason it's in here, and I was like, well, that's perfect. And it even has a lid, you know. But then after the episode, I was like, I opened the door, and Petra came in here, and Petra wouldn't stop sniffing down by my feet. I'm like, what is she obsessed with? Natasha's like, what's she obsessed with? I was like, I don't want you to know. I planned on throwing this in the trash, but
yeah, you could hear it in your voice.
It was it's really funny. You heard it in her voice when oh my god. I have a good clip to start the second half. Wei sent this in. Wei sends in a lot of stuff I don't always give him credit for. I actually, a lot of people send things in that I don't remember to give them credit for, but I feel like I don't say Wei's name enough in the show.
Thank you to all of you who send in clips. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I always intend to say who sends it in. Wei sent this in, and I was like, that's a perfect rejoiner from the first to second half. These are things that are younger than both Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Things younger than Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Bill Clinton, the country of India, diamonds on engagement rings, color TV, the U.S. interstate highway system, the U.S. states of Alaska and Hawaii, birth control pills, Walmart, pineapple on pizza, legal interracial marriage, calling 911, high fives, the last French guillotine execution, CNN, ciabatta bread, and over 95% of the U.S. population.
I didn't know ciabatta bread was only from the 80s. Wow.
I didn't either. The guillotine one's pretty wild.
Yeah. The last guillotine execution.
Wow.
Yeah.
That French Revolution, man.
The French. That's in here. Pad for me. No, I'll never find it. There's wait.
The French.
Thanks, Orson Welles. Drunk doing an ad. All right. All right. Well, so as is tradition, when we come back and do the second half, we have 3 segments in the second. Well, we have more than 3 segments, but we have 3 political segments in the second half. Well, it used to be 2. We used to make fun of the right and the left, and then the right splintered into MAGA and the rest of the right.
Right.
So it's mostly MAGA. We got a lot from the left. Shocking. After Joe Biden's debate performance, we have a lot to make fun of on the left. But starting with the MAGA cult, it's always fun to get into this with isolating some of the cult individuals. This is the Good Liars asking people about the Bible in school.
Books that are banned in school.
Books like that, yes, that are teaching children wrong moral values.
What about a book that says slavery is okay?
I have never seen a book that said slavery was okay.
See, here's the thing. I don't mind people that like the Bible in school. I don't like people that are too dumb to recognize this setup and walk right into this. It's like, look, this isn't a propeller. It's not a propeller. You can just stay right where you're at. This is my A10 impression.
What about a book where somebody sells their daughter into slavery for 200 foreskins? Would that be okay?
No, nothing on. No, like I said, good moral values is what needs to be taught. It needs to be brought back in.
Like books like the Bible?
The Bible would be an awesome one.
I'm sorry. This is bugging me. And there's like 2 people listening that aren't going to let me live this down. I know the A10 doesn't have a propeller. I did the sound of an A10.
Jesus.
Okay. Am I distracting from the subject?
Yeah.
Okay.
You think the Bible should be taught in school?
I do. It's history. It should be taught as a history class because that's what it is. It is a history book.
The 2 things I just said were from the Bible.
Slavery? Nah, you're right.
And it's selling the daughter for foreskin.
That's true. You got
that's
there.
true.
I think they should.
That's true. And that's a lot of foreskins.
It's a lot of foreskins.
Dude, there's like probably Deuteronomy, because that one's like the history book. I think in Deuteronomy they talk about like a mountain of foreskins. Like, no joke. Like they describe it in the book as a mountain of foreskins from there. And it's to be like, we beat our enemy and we cut off all the ends of their dicks into a mountain, because that's how many enemies we beat, which is an impressive thing 4,000 years ago. But like,
it is pretty impressive. Yeah.
It's a weird thing to flex on. Like,
I mean, so I'm fine with the Bible being in schools if it's a religious studies class and the people signing up for it know that, and it's not exclusively the Bible. I wouldn't want it. I mean, and I think even that's kind of a difficult place for a public school. I think once you get to college or university, that's totally different. But
100%. Yep. And then it comes down to how much public funding you get. You can have another debate about that.
Sure.
More on that later, Alan. Save it.
Okay.
I got a whole 10 Commandments thing later. Trump's on a rant about electric planes. He doesn't understand clouds.
Is it electric boats too? Like,
he's moved on from the boat. So the problem with
the plane crashes and there's a shark. Like, what do I do? Like,
so if it's a Sharknado, right? And the plane's going down, and there's a shark outside the window. Do I jump out of the plane in a parachute and risk a Sharknado attacking me? Or do I stay on the electric plane and let the battery get wet? If he was the genius he says he is, he would have fucking said that.
They want electric army tanks. They want electric planes. What happens if the sun isn't shining while you're up in the air? Well, sir, I told you there'd be problems, sir. No, they want electric everything. They want electric boats. The problem, the boats, they don't float because the battery is so heavy. It sinks the boat. They say, we don't care. We want them anyway. They want electric.
Unbelievable.
He's still doing the boat thing.
He's doing the bit. It works.
Man, if he was half the evil genius that he looked like when he was compared, like, imagine getting the boost he got after standing next to a corpse for 90 minutes. Like, that's not fair, right? Like, the man does not deserve the boost he got last week. Now contrast that. As much as I fucking hate Gavin Newsom, if he went up there against Gavin Newsom would have wiped his ass with his hair.
Oh, it would have been
Trump's hair.
Yes.
Not Gavin's hair. It's way too pretty.
It would have been.
Oh my God, the hair. We need this matchup just for the hair.
Newsom does have good hair.
And it's that mixture of black and gray. Oh my God, it's so handsome. Oh. I'm getting some grays and I'm like, oh, maybe someday I'll look like Gavin Newsom.
I know we talked about this already, and I don't want to make this show.
Alan, it's all we do. We go in circles. It's fine.
All right.
You're finding a place to poop. You're spinning around.
So,
how many foreskins for a daughter?
No. Newsom as a candidate. I think that there are a lot of people out there that would just immediately be like, he's a California liberal. Fuck that guy.
But I'm telling you, he would switch to the national version.
Okay. All right. And if you put him in as the,
wait, you're right. Why don't they put in Gretchen Whitmer, the one she was the governor of Michigan, right?
Yes.
The one that got kidnapped by the CIA or the FBI. How's that going to go? Right. Okay.
Right.
Or Pritzker, somebody nobody's ever heard of. I will say Democrats need to tout this more, but they can't because it would bring up the tension about Joe dropping out. Every one of these, there's been a lot of polls that have that where people have said, would you vote for Biden? And it's like 45%. Would you vote for Gavin Newsom? 45%. Would you vote for Gretchen Whitmer? 45%. Way down off the page is JB Pritzker, the governor of Illinois. 45%. Like the fuck no to Donald Trump crowd is so fucking strong. All you have to do is put a real like messaging campaign behind it, and it's a fucking landslide. It's a cakewalk, and they're too scared to do it. You were saying something.
No, I was trying to. So I worry about the California liability because I've traveled throughout this country and I know.
You know who was a Californian?
Who?
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Richard Nixon.
Sure.
Richard Nixon, who, by the way, is like in hell being like, fuck you, I did nothing wrong. Absolute immunity.
No, I know there's definitely an anti-California bias out there, though. I don't know how much it translates politically.
It does. I live in Tennessee. Let me tell you.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? Nobody in Tennessee is voting for, Joe Brandon anyways.
Sure.
And when you go up and say, I've ran the 6th largest economy in the country, in the world, and it keeps growing, that is the response to California, is drawing people out of it, driving people out of it, right? Mm-hmm. It's true. I moved. I felt like I could not live there. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just fucking poor though, right? Like maybe it's something wrong with me. Yeah.
Gotta get that podcast money.
Yeah, right. Nice. What a Patreon. Shout out to Robert who joined this week. Wait.
Oh, nice.
Shit. This is I'm now about to give away his government name. God damn,
don't do that.
This is rude of me. I'm so sorry. Now I'm going to say his first name.
Don't dox people.
No, Scott. I know. Okay. You know, but if I explain that fully, that's a little too much personal. I almost said not you. I'm talking to Scott. No, we had actually a really good conversation about the podcast we listened to and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Actually, I'm listening to a couple new shows that he recommended. I wanted to play this. This was other than when so there was the point in the debate where Trump was like, I don't really know what he said at the end there. And frankly, I don't think he does. That was the moment of the debate. This was the second best moment of the debate.
And Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one who wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
So I just want to point out the fact that if you're not a political animal like me and Alan, you don't know what the fuck he just said there, other than he called him a Palestinian and a bad one, right?
A bad Palestinian.
Yeah, right. But like I can actually, I could start, we don't have time. I could turn a 5-minute segment out of the 16 seconds there. Listen to this.
And Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only.
He's talking about the ceasefire deals.
Yes.
A minute and a half just there, right?
Right. Who wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go.
Now, what he's not saying, but because he's so bad at actually being effective communicating, he's just charismatic. What he's saying is, what, Israel is the one that is trying to have the ceasefire, but it's not clear because he's skipping around in his words, right? Okay, another minute and a half.
Go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want.
He just said that Israel should finish the job. So his way of connecting to the moderates is to say Israel needs to. They haven't done enough.
Do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian.
He's become like a Palestinian. What he meant to do was draw the connection between Biden and the people protesting on campus and saying
left
because he doesn't support Israel enough.
Yes.
But he's a bad Palestinian because he doesn't support Israel enough. Another minute and a half. I'm not doing it. I'm just telling you, like, that's how bad Trump performed. And it doesn't mean anything because Biden was over there like being a fucking lizard. Just on his warming rock.
Oh God.
Right.
2024, ladies and gentlemen. 2024.
You know what, though? I've said it earlier. We deserve this. We really, it's not what the country deserves, but it's the country that elected a reality TV show host as president via the popularity contest because we're all fucking brain mushed from social media. That it is what we collectively deserve.
Remember all the memes from 2020? It was like the dumpster fire thing, and then I don't know.
This is fine. This is fine.
Yes.
Yep.
The whole
This is Trump saying China, Russia, and North Korea are not really our enemies.
Oh.
The world should know that while Biden is the worst president in the history of America, our country is going to be strong again, and it's going to be very soon. I want the enemies to know that, because we have a 5-month transition period, and I want the enemies to know, don't play around with us during this 5-month period. Don't play around.
Now I'm curious who he thinks those enemies are after he excludes the list he's about to exclude.
Oh, immigrants, immigrants. They're coming to take.
It's only for them. It's also from, in all fairness, we have enemies on the outside, China, Russia, North Korea, enemies, but they're not really enemies if you have a smart president. If you have a smart president, they're not enemies. You'll make them.
Yeah, you'll get a whole deal process set up, and then you'll send John Bolton over there who's going to weasel the way out of it. And in the end, things are worse than where they were.
Yeah,
like North Korea. Great point. Why don't you show up with a fucking Russian-made limousine and drive around in it?
Yes, that would be good.
Miracle that car didn't crash.
You know, a lot of people in the diplomatic community believe that
diplomatic community. Sorry, Lethal Weapon 2. Remember that?
Yeah, believe that the probably starting in like the, I don't know, maybe the late 90s. There's a couple decades there of sort of belief that China was going to be a good actor on the world stage if we just let them incorporate economically into yeah. And clearly that wasn't the case, and there were people who saw that, but their voices weren't heard or weren't loud enough. And now we're dealing with the behemoth that we have now.
Yep. And we all made money along the way, and just like climate change and our political disaster, we'll watch it happen. And once it gets bad enough that an island, like, I thought it was pronounced Curacao, but apparently it's not. Did you see what? Did you see what? No, you're talking about the drink.
Oh,
the alcoholic Alan. The Hurricane Beryl wiped that Caribbean island just completely off.
Well, and it turned into a Category 5 like out of nowhere. Like
4.
They weren't, or 4. They weren't expecting it to be
42 hours.
Yeah,
in 42 insane. Hours. Yeah, and we've never had one this early in the year.
Right. But climate change, don't worry about it. It's fine.
So like, but just like all of that, we will be like, you know, because the libertarian approach to climate change is that it's real and that mankind is amazing at adapting. So we'll get through it through innovation. The problem with that is we never create economically. We don't fix those problems until there's the bust. We don't fix it until it's actually killing people. And the result of this is going to kill, let's say, hundreds of millions.
Well, the reason we don't is because the nature of our politics is to be short term. Like we can't see past 6 months from now, politically. So if you're
we have 4-year election cycles,
right? So if you're in power, you have no incentive to do anything about that.
Like, I'm just saying, even the long thing is 4 years.
Exactly.
We're making fun of the right. It's the only clip I can find from the right this week. This is Josh Hawley being hounded and just saying no comment. It's honestly.
Excuse me, fine sir, are you the famous congressman, sir? Can I get you for my TikTok channel? What is your stance on Palestine, sir? Sir, can we get no comment? You are a tall white man in America and you don't have any comment? That's all you got? Did your ancestors conquer this country for you to not have a comment? And scrunch up your nose like that, boy? Come on.
I fucking hate everybody involved in this video. The Palestine News Network is one of my least favorite. I'm following this, I think, on my. No, this is the show page. I was following them and I unfollowed them. How am I even seeing this? How did this even show up? This came out of my Explore page again. Instagram sent this, or somebody sent it in a group chat. Did I not credit someone? That's probably what happened.
I kind of like the Louisiana accent. I got to be honest. It's kind of.
I fucking hate Josh Hawley. Like I just hate. I associate Josh Hawley with the worst version of American populism. Not even Donald Trump. Donald Trump's just an opportunist. But Josh Hawley is the most terrifying form. Like if Josh Hawley gets into the vice presidency or a serious presidential candidate, because remember, he's still very young. They're like, we are so fucked. Like he is so effective at it in all of the actual terrifying ways.
Yeah,
in the way that Pence is incredibly bland, Josh Hawley is incredibly effective. But he somehow hasn't gotten out. He's Gavin Newsoming. He's waiting for his moment. I hate everybody involved in that video. I wish they'd get in that elevator. No, I won't say it. No. I talked about this early in the show, maybe even in the hidden track. Right after the debate, Jill Biden went up and had, you remember, she's a teacher. She's still a teacher at the Virginia Community College. This is fucking elementary school teacher energy. She goes up to Joe at a little like mini rally and is like, "Good job, Joe. You answered every question and that the teacher asked."
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
I didn't even mean to impersonate her so well. I thought I was doing a joke voice. And look at him smiling like, I'm going to get some ice cream.
And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do?
Nobody knows what to say. Watch this. She's like, fuck, I got to say it for you. Why? That's right. Like,
that's a bad crowd. They should know that. That was pretty obvious.
Well, or you certainly shouldn't ask a question with a very specific answer that everybody is. I don't know. Say racist things. What am I? Lie. Like, you really have to train them to get that response. Yeah. And there's no evidence that they had a warm-up act.
You need the opener to set up the call and response so they know what to do.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Or have cards up. Right? Like, you could have had cards up. That would have helped.
Oh, sure.
Put up the flashing applause light. See that sign? Applesauce. Have you ever watched the Larry Sanders Show?
Some, not a lot.
I loved the Larry Sanders Show. Hank Kingsley Hank Kingsley does the opening, like during the dead air, and he's saying, "See that sign? What's that say?" That's right, applesauce.
Applesauce.
The applause sign. This is one of Biden's worst fuck ups from the debate. So, and this is an opportunity for him to dunk. So, first of all, the scene starts with him sitting there with his fucking mouth open. If there was one thing, if he just didn't have his mouth open the whole time, he would have looked 90% better.
It would have been much better.
And because we all have had an old person in our life, we all associate this with bad feelings. And my least favorite memories of grandpa.
Sure.
And you're associating that with shit, run the country. Like, I can put words together when I don't look at you like that and imagine how it's not that bad, but I can't look at you doing that and think that thought. Like, it's just step the fuck out of the way, dude.
It's almost visceral, like the reaction to that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, because of what I just described, right? Like, that is a universal emotion that, if we're lucky, every human has experienced. It is a generational trauma passed on in our DNA, in our epigenetics, whatever I'm saying wrong. Bro science. So this was a dunk moment. He had the chance to say abortion has there are the case on abortion can be divided into 3 trimesters. The first one is between you and your body. Second one is you and a doctor, and the third one is you and the government. I didn't even do that well, but it was way better than what this guy said.
Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state.
Do you?
So now's a perfect time to highlight this. What I keep saying when I talk about it, and nobody wanted to listen to the live debate coverage. I understand it was pulling teeth, but I kept saying during that, this is an 81-year-old man with a stutter. Up too late, off cue cards. If you feel like that means you shouldn't vote for him, then don't vote for him. I'm not going to try to convince you on that. But I can imagine this person with advisors making decisions and being okay with it because it's not a maniac behind the wheel. It's a bad person behind the wheel. But you're giving me 2 choices. I don't think the other one is more fitting for it. I can't look at that though. Like, it's
really tough. It's really tough. And you see the difference between the way Trump's body language is when he's not speaking and Biden's body language is when he's not speaking.
Right. I've focused the split screen on how bad Biden looked. You're right. While Biden's doing that, Trump's over there looks maxing, right?
He's just going like, what is,
he kept pursing his lips. He was looks maxing.
Yeah. Yes.
I know one phrase.
Gish gallop.
Okay, I know 2 phrases. Are you familiar with this looks max thing? It's a Gen.
No, I'm not actually.
A Gen Z thing. Yeah, it's this.
Oh, okay.
Suck in the cheeks, purse the lips. It's just posing. They have new words for dumb. It's like we already wrote these down. We've said these. Like,
remember when Duckface was a thing?
Yeah, it's kind of a duck face.
It's kind of a duck face.
It's like modified duck face. It's more aesthetic.
Modified duck face. If we didn't already have a show title.
You know what? You're right. Modified duck face. I mean, I think Vast Efron's probably wasn't a good name for the show.
I liked the Thomas the Train though. That was fun.
We did that episode 210. I googled it. I was like, "This."
Okay.
Yeah, there was a point where you had.
Oh,
you remember?
I remember.
We've been talking about Thomas for a long fucking time.
I remember that now. Yes.
You know who's been talking about Thomas longer than us?
Who?
Joe Biden. He's the guy that tried to not let him get his position. Of course, Thomas hates him. Like, nobody ever talks about that. Clarence Thomas has a personal axe to grind with Joe Biden specifically. Joe Biden led the whole Thomas shouldn't be in there, which what was largely came across kind of racist. It's funny I said rapist because the accusation was Thomas had some sexual impropriety. And there's something about a pubic hair and a Coke can. I never remember those facts right enough to be able to say it here off the cuff. I got another gaff of old Corn Pop, another gaff of Corn Pop. Well, Corn Pop is a bad dude. This is just Biden.
Bad dude.
Like every single solitary person eligible.
Biden has hairy legs.
Yes.
Person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with.
By the way, that might have been the only mention of COVID in the whole fucking debate. They didn't ask a question about COVID. Again, if DeSantis was up there, he'd be like, I stayed open. But Gavin would be like, we closed down. There would have been substance.
Yeah.
Dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
That's not edited.
No. And I think that's where Trump says, I don't know what he just said there, but yeah. So again, Sorry. I do think that is more evidence of him being over-prepared. I think I understand
over-prepared and a man with a stutter.
Yeah, and old. But I think I understand his team was worried that he wouldn't be able to react in the moment. But at some level, you have to trust your candidate and not try to fill their head full of facts, which are just going to get jumbled in there. And he's going to try to spit them out.
Your excuse for Biden's poor performance that his staff over-prepared him and
No, I'm not giving him an excuse. I'm saying I think there are things.
Are you saying that people should consider bad coaching in this game?
Yes, I think there are things they could have done better. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, sure, but it shouldn't that only exist in the margins?
Yeah,
this wasn't lost in the margins.
Sure.
Okay. I understand your point, and I got to disagree with you sometime. This is the line that actually I stopped the show during this. I stopped the live stream in the middle of this.
Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he
skipped to the end because that's when he actually.
We talked about
women murdered
laws by their spouses, brothers, by their in-laws, by their. There's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters,
look. I'm not saying there isn't a way that this happens, and sexual abuse can have a lot of different forms, and I don't even dare make a joke of that. I don't think that when he prepared for this, they were like, make sure you say women were raped by their sisters. Like, he's just spouting out words, and he's old, and shit's falling out of his mouth. I will say this: if you want to talk shit about your in-laws, you are trying to touch base with a lot of Americans. He did say that they were raped by their in-laws.
So
like,
I think
come into town and the whole time they're gone at a motorcycle rally, and they drive to Chattanooga. Oh, I'll see you at the wedding ever. Love you.
I know this story. I think that so this was right after the abortion portion of the debate.
The abortion.
It's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing.
Well, wait, hold on.
Portion.
So, I think that what he was trying to get to was the lack of exceptions for rape and incest. In abortion, but he couldn't get there.
Call me crazy. I think that one of the two people up there should be able to.
Oh, I agree.
Like, all we're doing is Monday morning quarterbacking, and you're packaging it in the format of giving him an excuse.
Am I?
That sounds like that. I'm sorry. Are you saying that he's fucked up and he should have said that? Because I'm hearing it as, hey, man, this is what he meant to say.
So I'm trying to make sense of what he said, because without context, if you don't if you're not paying close attention, you wouldn't know what he was attempting to do. Obviously, he failed to do what he was attempting to do, and there's lots of reasons for that. I'm not giving him an excuse. I'm just trying to explain to a sort of more casual viewer what, kind of what created that circumstance, which was a shit show and a train wreck, and it sucked.
You're saying the context of that does provide like.
Well, at least you understand.
Because, like I said, like this was a horrible performance, but it wasn't that far outside of like the range of predictable Joe Biden performance.
So if you don't know that context, that sounds like a raving lunatic. But if you understand the context of where that thought
and you
entered
understand
his
that it's an
brain,
81-year-old with a stutter reading without a teleprompter.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
It is a bad environment for that person to be able to say that. And I will say, having the skill to answer that better is not a mandatory skill of being president. When you're sitting in a room making a decision with your chief, with your, you know what I mean? Like,
I do think that
being able to not say raped by my sister, like.
I do think a large percentage of the president's job is just being able to communicate with the public, and clearly he failed at that task Thursday. Yeah.
Well, however we feel about it, this woman does not. We need to keep this woman as far away from being president as possible. And I feel like that is another reason why they should get another campaign. Look at Kamala Harris at the BET Awards.
No, Taraji. Now, you know I wouldn't do that.
First of all, she's talking to Taraji P. Henson. Every time I've seen that name written down, I go, was there another Taraji Henson that I wasn't aware of? Like, did we need to get the middle initial in? Like that, like the first time I saw Taraji P. Henson as a headline in a theater, what do you call that? Starring up on the marquee, right?
Marquee.
Or the poster, right? I'm like, was there another Taraji Henson? Like,
was he related to the
like Michael J. Fox? There was a Michael Fox. It's like when you look at the SAG listing, you got to put something else there.
Just to differentiate, right?
Yeah. Maybe there was another Taraji Henson that I'm just ignorant of.
Was he related to the Muppets guy? Maybe, I don't know.
This is a woman, Alan.
No,
Michael Fox.
No,
is there a Fox in there?
The other Henson.
Jim Henson.
Yes.
Now who looks bad? It's Henson, silly goose. You silly goose. So this is a whole produced thing, and overproduced things look really bad. And when you get a bunch of producers mixed with campaign officials signing off scripts, it's just a recipe for dog shit, right? Like
she FaceTiming.
It's a whole bit where where Kamala Harris is FaceTiming Taraji P. Henson.
P. Yes.
Got to get the P in there.
P is important.
Like in swimming.
Especially not to a fellow bison. The real, ain't you? You know. So what's on your mind? Oh, Madam VP Harris, I'm worried about the election. Women's reproductive rights are on the line. Our Supreme Court is on the line. Our
listeners, don't leave. Okay. Like, I understand. Don't skip ahead. Sit through this. It's a workout. Muscles get stronger through tearing them.
basic freedoms are being tested, Madam VP. I know you've been traveling across the country. What are you hearing? Yeah, girl, I'm out.
Dude. She's the actress. Like, I mean, comparatively, they're both giving the same level of performance. If we're comparing her to the A-list actress, I think Kamala actually deserves more credit. They both come across terrible, but they're giving the same level of performance.
I'm out here in these streets, and let me tell you, you're right.
Out here in these streets.
Right, Taraji. There is so much at stake in this moment.
I can't believe a black woman can go up there and look just as cringy as Hillary saying she keeps hot sauce in her purse. Like, that was the same thing, right? Kamala Harris being like, I'm out here in these streets. You know what I'm doing out here? Arresting people for pot.
The majority of us believe in freedom and equality. But these extremists, as they say, they're not like us. No, they not. There's a
keep Kendrick's words out of your fucking mouth. I don't deserve to be able to say that with that.
It's so cringy.
I will sit back and learn.
That is so cringy.
A full-on attack on our fundamental freedoms. The freedom to vote. Yep. The freedom to love who you love, the freedom to be safe from gun violence, the freedom for a woman to make decisions about her own body.
There was a cut there. There was a cut there. The freedom for a woman, and then we'll come back to it, finish sentence, to have that was a cut. I wish I could rewind this. The camera cut there. You got it. Like when you pay attention to like production, you realize how much this is so obscure. But in the movie Karate Kid, you know, the whole sweep the leg scene.
Yeah,
that's done off camera, which there was no way. They showed the person that says it, and then the line is delivered off camera. I guarantee you they did it like 60 times. They're like, this guy can't fucking say it. We'll do it in ADR. Like next time you watch Karate Kid, sweep the leg is off camera. Like it's kind of like Luke, I am your father isn't what he says. You remember that? Like he's going viscerally sweep the leg. No, it's off camera. Like in that same way, you watch this, it's like you can't just say that in one line. I'm nitpicking, right? I am.
You are.
Already not having her government tell her what to do.
Okay, I won't make you watch it twice.
Yeah, please don't. I'll suffer a conniption.
People don't say conniption enough. Hey, don't worry. I saw Cody over at Foxhole.
Mm-hmm.
Halfway through or after the debates was like, Kennedy is the only option. It was a video of him doing pull-ups, which honestly, in contrast, like if we had to vote right then, it'd be like, you're right, Kennedy. Brainworms, 4 years of brainworms, and we'll figure something out, right? This broke right before the show, so I don't know if this is a big deal by the time the show released. This is almost 5 p.m. today. He was on Breaking Points, which is probably an internet show.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, so Brainworms, RFK, the other option we have. Look, the only real other option we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
You swallow that Brainworms pill and be like, it probably doesn't mean anything.
And also a sexual assault allegation from one of your former nannies. So I want to give you a chance to respond to that.
Now, we've been talking about debates for a while and people being overprepared. You would imagine you know about this, right?
Sure.
And you know that at some point in your campaign, this is going to come out. And you're a Kennedy. You know.
You should be prepped for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. This is a guy with a bad voice to begin with. It's like, let me clear my throat. I don't want to come across raspy.
You know, the article is a lot of garbage. The picture that they said is of me eating a dog. It's actually
what? Me. You know what? I didn't even know that part.
I didn't know that part either.
Did you know the other part though? Did you see that before the show?
No, I don't think I did.
So the whole nanny situation, sexual assault, this is all breaking, right? I thought so. Okay.
The picture that they said is of me eating a dog. It's actually
calm down, Way. Calm down. We have a video Vietnamese.
Me eating a goat.
Oh, it's not a dog.
It's a goat.
No way. No way.
It was a fucking goat, man.
You know what? I'm coming back around.
And on a whitewater trip many years ago.
I was whitewater rafting, like me and Kevin Bacon.
They flew river. They say there's an expert. They have an expert that has identified that as a dog.
Look, we've looked at the meat.
We took DNA evidence from.
Look, I've been to Tijuana a lot in my life. I am certain I've ate dog. I didn't think it was dog.
It was goat.
You're like, look, it was goat. We've had people look at the grilled meat in the picture, and this expert has. Am I lying? Is that what I heard? Look.
They say there's an expert. They have an expert that has.
I didn't hire an expert. They say they have an expert. Like, dude, no. We have hired people to analyze this, and they have proven that I did not, in fact, eat a dog. Shut the fuck up. No, they say this is Trump talk, right? By the way, biggest donors are also Trump donors. Like his whole campaign is not smear. Like that is true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They say there's an expert. They have an expert that has identified that as a dog carcass.
Yeah,
it's just not true. So, and you know, in terms of the.
It's the opposite of what I thought. They say they have one. This so-called expert. Holy shit! Hold on. In my world, the bad case scenario was some expert I've never heard of has proven it was goat. He's saying there's an expert, and that expert says it's a dog, and my response is that's not true. I thought this clip was going to be bad about the sexual assault allegations. I mean, that's
we haven't even gotten to
I
that.
didn't know it had this.
I had no idea.
Their allegations.
The full clip that I kept seeing was only 44 seconds. I found the first clip that was 1:29, and I added it to the show without watching it because I was like, well, that's going to include the setup question.
Right.
No, it was 5 seconds of setup, and then I didn't need a dog. The experts think I did, but I didn't.
Even gotten to the sex thing yet.
Listen, I've said this from the beginning. I am not a church boy. I am not running like that. I had a very, very rambunctious youth. I said in my announcement speech that I have so many skeletons in my closet that if they could all vote, I could run for king of the world. So, this Vanity Fair is.
This is his argument in defense of allegations of sexual assault. His argument, the question he was asked was, did you sexually assault your nanny? You're being accused of that. And he said, I didn't eat a dog. And these allegations are garbage. That's
yes. He said, I admitted up front. I was
Oh, wait, no. His excuse is I'm not a church boy.
Church boy.
I was a what?
I had a rambunctious youth.
Dude, what the fuck, man?
What the fuck, indeed.
This Vanity.
I'm used to there being a good third party candidate that we can be like, why didn't this guy win? Now we're just like, there's not even a Bernie.
Fair is reason.
There's not even a Gary Johnson. There's not even a Ron Paul.
No.
I don't dare put Ron Paul's name out with the other two I said.
Cycling 30-year-old stories, and I'm not, going to comment on the details of any of them, but I am who I am.
Except with a great detail, the eating a dog part. Now, you say something about me sexually assaulting a nanny. Oh, no, I was a rambunctious youth. I wasn't a choir boy. I mean, it's fine.
And also, I didn't eat a dog. I have an expert. It says it was a goat.
No, I misled you there. They have an expert that says it was a dog. I'm telling you it was a goat.
It was a goat. Yes.
On my life, I didn't think that could even go as bad as it did.
It's another battle in the culture wars. Oh, not the culture wars. They're worried about a culture war. Culture wars. Stop with the culture wars.
Can you imagine if that guy was our vice president? If our whole culture war segment was introduced by future vice president?
Ugh. I mean, I can't imagine, unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible now. You got a good point. Here's just piece of shit Andy Ogles being Andy Ogles. So he posted this, by the way. I'm about to share. I forget. So I don't always notice this. I'll add shit to the show that is making fun of Andy Ogles. And half the time I've done that, it's things he's posted thinking he's dunking on someone. So I'm pretty sure my note that I made for this was that Andy Ogles is confusing budget with salary. And
Mr. Chairman
was like a Democrat operative post. I thought like Tristan Snell or BidenHarris.org or whatever shared this.
Midas touch.
No, this is Andy Ogles shared this. No, you listen. This is him arguing with Mayorkas about cuts to the budget for Border Patrol.
Chairman, serious. I think this is serious. Actions have consequences.
That's Ogles.
Inaction should also have consequences. A 12-year-old girl intending to connect with her 13-year-old boyfriend instead was intercepted by two drunk illegals. They took her, they raped her, they strangled her.
Man, we were having a good time, Andy. Jesus Christ. I'm sitting here trying to I forgot what led into his failure. He's going to fuck up, but unfortunately he's going to give some fucking horrific story and get you emotionally riled up. Watch your amygdala, guys. He's hijacking it, or he's trying to.
And 2 hours later, they try to get money to leave the country. I pause because this is serious. We have a secretary that's not doing their job. Mr. Chairman, this is a modest cut. It's not going to turn
Let
out.
me tell you a story about a woman being raped by illegals. Now, I'd like you to have a modest cut to your budget. You fucking piece of shit. Like just the style of rhetoric. Like, am I too old by saying that? Like, this style of rhetoric repulses me, and I thought it should repulse all of us. I can't believe that we are allowing ourselves to be emotionally hijacked by these. Like, he's a horrible.
I can't believe he posted that.
No, dude, wait, we're not done. So that, like, just the transition is, so I pause because it's a serious subject, not because my next sentence is about your budget cut, which I tried to connect to a woman being raped, child.
Out the lights, but it sends a clear message that your job is to protect American citizens. It's not diversity. It's not political points. It's to protect America. 400 individuals were just designated as having potential ties to terrorists, but they weren't apprehended because they weren't on the terror watch list. Inaction has consequences. This is serious. This cut is meant to send a message. Enough is enough. I urge adoption of my amendment, and I yield back. Mr. Chairman.
So there was an amendment to cut $10 million from Mayorkas' salary.
Oh, okay.
And he's talking about the budget from the department.
The budget for the.
So the head of the department doesn't have his budget come out of that.
No.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes we just say "huh" together.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Well, it's the culture war segment. It's fine if it causes air brakes every once in a while. That's fine. We can have a refresher and talk about the 10 Commandments. So we've been talking about Louisiana was the ones that passed the mandatory 10 Commandments in the classroom. They're attempting to have a similar bill go through in Texas. And this is a Texas representative, congressman, state senator, one of those, right?
Okay.
You call him state.
A state House member, or legislator, state
legislator out of Texas.
Yeah.
Where they have those old wooden chairs. Oh, that's in Austin. So Texas Republicans are trying to have the same thing. This is a congressman arguing against that in Texas and trying to appeal to them with their common Christian nature.
Ah. Oh, it's not presented.
Not sharing it?
No.
Thanks. I appreciate that. We started over because the first few lines are important.
This to you as a fellow Christian. Representative Noble, I know you're a devout Christian, and so am I. This bill, to me, is not only unconstitutional, it's not only un-American, I think it is also deeply unchristian. And I say that because I believe this bill is idolatrous, I believe it is exclusionary, and I believe it is arrogant. And those three things, in my reading of the gospel, are diametrically opposed to the teachings of Jesus. You probably know Matthew 6:5, when Jesus says, "Don't be like the hypocrites who love to pray publicly on street corners. When you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret." A religion that has to force people to put up a poster to prove its legitimacy is a dead religion. And it's not one that I want to be a part of. It's not one that I think I am a part of. You know that in Scripture it says faith without works is what? Dead. Is dead. My concern is, instead of bringing a bill that will feed the hungry, clothe the naked, heal the sick, we're instead mandating that people put up a poster. And we both follow a teacher, a rabbi, who said, and I say this to—
Okay. Kind of cuts off there.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty well said. It's pretty well said. I mean, I was just listening to the American Scandal about Baker, Tammy Faye Baker.
Oh, I loved that series.
Yeah, it was really
I guess I never gave Tammy enough credit.
Yeah. But there's that scene where one of his constituents that works for him comes up to him and he's like, "Hey man, like I don't think what we're doing here is the right thing. Like, you're building an amusement park and a hotel, and I don't think that's what the world needs. I don't think that's what the doctrine teaches us. And he kicks him out. And it's just like, I mean, this is the same shit, right? Like,
yeah, you're right. That guy will probably get voted out next time they have a public election.
Yeah. But you know, it'd be cool, Christians, if you were a lot more Christ-like. That's what I'll just say that. How about that?
No, doesn't.
From one atheist to a Christian. That's
but I mean, we grew up in it. We're not ignorant.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. My mom was a born again. I grew up in that whole 90s revival of it all.
Yeah. And we've talked extensively about my background as
well. I don't remember where I heard this, but it was like a Miss America that was like, she was like a pitch woman as a career after Miss America. And she had one statement. She was like, I don't mind born agains. I just wish they wouldn't be born as the same person. She never had a child again. Yeah.
I've heard that line. Yes.
What's this guy's name? I forget this guy's name. Alan, noted British homosexual.
Christopher Hitchens.
Stephen Fry.
Right.
Stephen Fry this is an old tape of him talking about the 10 Commandments. It's fitting now that it's back in the zeitgeist so much.
The 10 Commandments have underpinned Western law for centuries, indeed for millennia. What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with it is it isn't true, of course. The fact is, anybody, Socrates, for example, Plato, his recorder, anybody who is interested in virtue, justice, truth, the right thing to do, is going to examine what is at the heart of good human behavior.
They took a code of morals which simply said, you honor God, you honor your parents, you don't steal, you don't kill, you remain faithful in marriage.
You're not mentioning the silly ones, are you?
No, I'm going right through the 10.
Right, okay, let's go for the covetousness then.
Number 10.
All right, sorry, that's very rude.
That is number 10, okay? Right. What exactly is wrong with those code of morals?
There's nothing wrong with those particular commandments, if you call them, but let's look at what they don't do. They don't stop slavery, there's no mention of it, and they kept slaves. So, hello, what a perfect society they had because of their 10 Commandments. What did God forget? The 10 Commandments are the hysterical believings of a group of desert tribes. Those desert tribes have stored up more misery for mankind than any other group of people in the history of the planet, and they're doing it to this day.
I've asked you if you think that there was anything wrong with them, and you've said no.
To say that should underpin the way we live, to say it's a commandment, that gives all your game away. How dare you command? You bid us be commanded. I think life is much more exciting than that, to do with finding out. It's not to do with being told by some awful patriot. Because these damn commandments of yours, you say they've made life better, I say they've suppressed and tyrannized and bullied.
The 10.
Brilliant,
and that's him losing his mind and becoming emotional.
Yeah,
like he lost his chill. He probably was upset with the way he performed.
I'm sure he was.
I hated that recording was at like 1.5 or something. It was obvious somebody like screenshot
sped it up a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not going to play this. Show's long. Buzz Burbank showed a new ad where it said condoms are going to be illegal. That's fine. We'll play it in the pre-show on the next show. Hidden track. I think that's it. I had a little. I saw a thing in the headlines where 30 million people bought airline tickets for this busy travel weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That's a record number. Thanks, Joe Biden.
Thanks, Brandon.
Do you want to end with a stupid religious pun? And we've been on a religious subject.
Sure.
Or should we end with another dumb pun that has to do with birds?
Oh, I mean, we might as well wrap it up religiously.
Okay. All right. Do you ever just wake up with a thought and you're like, I better write it down, even though it's dumb? Maybe maybe it'll be. I am underselling this. Okay, this is dumb.
Okay.
Christ the Redeemer, the statue in Rio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does the existence of Christ the Redeemer imply the existence of Christ the aluminum can salvager? Going around with shopping carts, dumping out trash cans.
For sure.
Okay, because you've redeemed them. You get it.
I get it.
When a guy's banging you,
y'all let me in his damn house.
Oh, how about that?
Come in the name of peace.
LMFAO.
So what in the world is this?
Is Kevin McCarthy a moron, and if so, why?
Why would you say something that stupid?
I come without explanations or solutions.
I'm a very sexy lady, cat turd.
Fuck, dude.
I will not suffer this harlot.
How great an anti-American Marxist.
Ted Cruz, go fuck yourself.
Read the news.
China is asshole.
God bless the United States.
Now this is
Podcasting.